fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get involved!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go!
Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time once again for a Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS race weekend. That means this Friday night we're doing the Logitech G V8SCOPS Supports Event 5 from Interlagos, featuring the flat sixes and the Jetta Cup. We got some Porsche action coming up for you, 2 races tonight in that, and 2 races for the Jettas in between race 1 and 2 for the Porsches. And to bring it to you all live here on SimSpeed TV is myself, Reese Gardner, with Dan Yeaman alongside me in the commentary box. Well, Dan, we're at the brilliant Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. An absolutely brilliant track that has been a Formula One host for quite some time, current layout dating from about 1991, and it's a brilliant circuit, so technical, so difficult to drive, with a great set of hairpins in the middle that should provide some good overtaking opportunities.
That it should indeed. Thank you for the introduction there, Reese, and thank you one and all for tuning in to join us here this Friday evening. And certainly, having a look at the track map on screen with you now, that current configuration, 15 turns and quite a fantastic mix of track layout and features, as you were saying there, Reese. Indeed, that middle sector of hairpins there, starting and around the Ferradura corner there, and then up through La Regina, and then to the Pinarino hairpin, and a lot of famous corner names there, all the way through to Juncal there, turn 12, the run onto the front straight there. But having to balance that middle sector with the run all the way from Juncal to the start of the Center S at turn 1, along with that run out of Curva de Sol down to Descida de Lago, and deciding, are you going to maximize the cornering speed through that middle sector, or do you prioritize the top speed along the straights tonight? Will be an interesting examination of drivers' setup choices this evening, I think, Reese.
Yeah, certainly will. The drivers that have set their car up for straight line speed are going to get a great run out of Junção and down through Subida dos Boxes towards the Center S down the start-finish straight. They'll also potentially be able to go for moves into the left-hander Descida de Lago corner. This is the race format for the Porsches, by the way. 2 19-lap races, but race 2 has a full reverse grid and a compulsory pit stop, and a 10-minute qualifying session that is starting right now. And the drivers are out there on the circuit getting ready to set their lap times. and it's a very difficult pit exit here at Interlagos. You've got to negotiate pit road down the inside of the opening 3 turns, and it's definitely a place where drivers could definitely make mistakes tonight.
Absolutely, indeed. That is indeed could be a very tricky spot here this evening. We'll see that in race 2, mind you, more than race 1, but who knows when cars have to bring it down to the pits, perhaps for damage repairs in race 1. But now we've got the conditions in server tonight. 26 degrees air temperature at the moment, race, and 28 degrees track temperature. I would think these guys shouldn't find that too much harder, and we are already into the mid-afternoon, virtually speaking, so I expect that temperature should come down a fraction more than increase. So I think for these guys here, not too much of a struggle, but never say never, given that these cars certainly no driver aids, and if you want to get down and onto the straightaway pretty quickly, could easily load up those rears a bit too much. As we get this qualifying underway race here, and having a look here at our defending Flat Sixes champion, the number 1, with Thomas Hinz behind the wheel for Henry James Racing and Team Jing Shifters.
Indeed, and taking what is known as the iRacing line into Junsao, you can use that entire curb on the entry and not get an off track, so you can extend the run through Junsao, get on the throttle a little bit earlier and onto the start-finish stretch. Let's go on board with Thomas Hinz here for his first qualifying lap. It's all about that exit from Junsao, but the actual run to turn 1 is quite short once you start the lap. Look out for the 50-meter board there. That's about where you got to start braking. And oh dear, a bit of understeer for Thomas Hinz there in turn 1. That lap is already over. Just overshot the braking zone a little too much, and that is going to be his first qualifying lap invalidated, unfortunately. But he'll get a few more opportunities here to make his way forward. Let's check out Matthew Bowler, who recently departed from Pursuit Sim Racing, and getting some great results on the board in the series that you help run over at Aussie Online Gaming, Dan, the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup. Definitely familiar with these cars as Matthew Bowler, and he'll be looking for a good result here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. First time we're seeing Matt join the SCOPS Supports field this evening, so great to have him out here joining us tonight, although indeed currently running a bit of a hybrid decal blend, as it were, as looks like he's supplied his paint with the Aussie Online Gaming decals mostly pre-applied, and then our Logitech G banner for this series has been slapped over top of that one for good measure. So yeah, a little bit of a mix and match there, but certainly yes, Bowler is very well familiar with the 992 Cup car now and is doing an excellent job with our fortnightly series over at AOG on Tuesday nights. So look out for him to be towards the top of the field tonight. His practice times are looking very impressive indeed, and looks like he's going to be the first one across the line here to set a qualifying time, and 33.658, certainly a good place to start for that number 12 car.
Indeed. Bowler topped the practice session on a 1:33.3, so there's definitely more in that time. Simon Mazzomo puts himself into second place. Matty Jones and Ryan Houlihan round out the cars at set times. Benjamin Faulkner just dipping into fourth place there as we follow Cameron Dance, another driver very familiar with the Porsche Cup cars, won the Majors Nürburgring 2.4 in this car, and also competes in the AOG Porsche Cup. So another driver very familiar with how this 992 Cup car handles, making his way through Magulo down to Junsao now. Try to round out the entry as much as you possibly can. Hard on the throttle he goes, and let's see what this lap time ends up being for Cameron Dance. Stick to the inside as much as you can through Subidos boxes, and then potentially shorten the run to the line here. That's actually very wide through the last real corner on the racetrack. 1:35.9 is Cameron Dance's first time, and that puts him into P9. There's definitely more in that, I would say. He set a 33.6 in practice.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the times at the moment, currently on track, and well, I think we're going to see quite an interesting little combination here. So, Matty Jones currently on screen there, third place for the 087. That's doing a good job there. But I think just going back to the front row provisionally here with Bowler and Mazzomo, I'm having a look at the sector times as they come through. And there we go. So Bowler pulls in the number 12 car, abandoning that qualifying run here. Stay with the 087 and Matty Jones cross the line. He comes, and indeed he improves too. And he joins the top two within a tenth of a second now. So times are starting to really stack up at the front of the field here, Reece. And I was going to say our top two cars were, oh goodness me, Mazzomo improves again, just inside of Jones. So they're coming thick and fast, and what I wanted to try and say amongst all this is it looks like we've got ourselves quite a difference in car setup. Bowler is 0.2 faster than most people through the opening sector on this track, but then he's losing time through the mid-sectors, implying that we've got to have ourselves a race between low downforce and high downforce. Craig Mason there locking up and going a bit deep into turn number 1 there, but has got himself up to 8th place provisionally here in qualifying. But over halfway through the session here, Reese, with no escape rule in effect as well, meaning these guys need to get the cars back to the pits if they want to reset. Means you're going to have limited choices here. Thomas Hinz yet to get a time on the board as he comes through turn 1 here.
Yeah, and it looked like he went a bit deep into turn 1 that time as well. Hinzy's definitely struggling a little out there as Cameron Dance goes to the top of the timesheets. Brilliant lap there, 33.4. And that's not too far off the 33.3 that Matthew Bowler set in practice. So we are going to have one heck of a race coming up if these qualifying times are anything to go by. Ryan Houlihan, currently P7, 34.1. He'll be hoping to improve on that time. Looking at his practice pace, he's actually gone faster than he did in practice. So it's nothing but up here for Ryan Houlihan as he tries to stick to drivers left as much as he can, shorten the run to the line. It's going to be a 34.0 then for Ryan. It's not going to be an improvement in position, but definitely an improvement in time. Gets him a bit closer there to Brady Baldwin.
That it does indeed, as we continue to watch these cars making their way across the line. Pete Manette here for Comsphere Race on Oz in the 678, out very wide through a bit of boxes there, which is a little bit different to what you expect. So he comes across the line here in the 678 machine, puts his first time on the board, if I'm not mistaken there. It's going to be P17 at the moment, so a little ways back there in that Race on Oz entry, but still a little bit of time left to try and find some improvement, but he's going to have to watch out. Looks a couple of cars there in behind. Looking racy there. It's Mark Noble in the 63, but he might have just gone wide as we switch to Taylor Oakes next to the Fitzdie Motorsport entries here tonight. Currently running back in 12th place.
Just improved as well from about P18. Hinz manages to hook up the first few turns this time, and we'll continue our onboard run here flat out through the Curva do Sol and onto the back stretch, which used to be run in the opposite direction when the track was longer. A massive reconfiguration of Interlagos in the early 1990s shortened it quite a bit. You've got to be careful to stay off the AstroTurf there on the outside. Otherwise you will get an off track. You'll see drivers going a bit narrow there. Hinz then into Ferradura and Laranjina. This brilliant uphill double apex left-hander, a little bit wide at the apex and struggling to keep the rear end in check. This is looking very tough out there for Thomas Hinz. We know how good of a driver he is from the many past broadcasts we featured him in, but doesn't seem to be quite coming together for him. Hopefully for him, he'll be able to get a competitive time on the board here, because it being a heat-based session, there's going to be a hard cut to the end of qualifying. He's not going to be able to get another lap in after this one.
This is it for the number 1 car, so looking at his times here, he's setting a whole bunch of personal bests, but nothing lining up the timesheets, I don't think, at this stage. But we should see him, I think, jump into the 133s if these... Yeah, these takers here are setting up for a 133 run here, so it's a little conservative on the first couple of laps. Up across the line comes the number 1 and the 33.7. That will see him in a much better spot there. P6 and inside 3/10 of provisional pole, but that is his qualifying session done. And so we now look to the cars behind as they're all going to wrap up. Blake Neck there in the 42 for TriStar Racing. That looks a little wide there, potentially off the final turn. And I'm not seeing any personal best this time by, so I don't think we'll be seeing an improvement out of Blake, which means he'll be starting this race at best. Where is the good sir? P6 at the moment for the 42 machine.
Yep, so across the line he comes, and 34.7.
Invalid time.
Yeah, invalid time there for Blake Neck, unfortunately. Matthew Bowler, with only 30 seconds left.
I don't think he's going to make it there, Reese.
Yeah, I don't think he will. But still, all the track time you can get is valuable for when you go into the race. Can Cameron Dance improve here? No, unfortunately. 37.8 on his final lap. There's only 10 seconds left in the session. If you don't cross the line pretty much right now, you are not going to get a time in. And that brings qualifying to a close, which means we can go through the grid for race 1 of the Flat Sixes here tonight. Cameron Dance on pole position. Matthew Bowler starts alongside him on the first row. It's Simon Mazzomo and Matty Jones on the second row. Brady Baldwin and Blake Neck round out the top 6. It's a 7th place start for Thomas Hinds alongside Ryan Houlihan, with Daniel Cheney, Benjamin Faulkner, Craig Mason and Connor Kingston rounding out the top 12 places.
Indeed, Taylor Oakes will start the race out of P13. He's got Anthony Green alongside there for 14th. Mark Noble and Jaden Monlenhow rounding out our 8th row tonight with 15th and 16th places. Isaac Edwards and Shane Best will take positions 17 and 18 tonight, before Pete Minette and John Courtney out of 19th and 20th. And then Robbie Bradbury should be our last car in the server to make it 21 cars. And then we've got ourselves 2 admins here tonight in the form of, I believe it's Aaron Gilbert and Henry King, although they've renamed themselves as safety car and race control, and they will deploy the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 if we so need it.
That they will. And news coming out of the InSim text chat, Matthew Bowler was up 5/10 on his fastest lap when the session cut out. Very unfortunate there for Bowler, but there's a silver lining to that. He definitely has the pace to win here. And if he can set up a good run out of Curva do Sol and out of Junsao, he should be able to take that lead from Cameron Dance. But it's going to be all about the standing start here. A very short run to turn 1, as I mentioned, but you can carry a lot of speed into that Senna S, and there's definitely potential for a big incident at the start of a race here at Interlagos. So, last few seconds then as we wait for the rest of the drivers to make their way onto the grid. It looks like everybody's in, and 10 seconds remaining before the lights come up and the drivers will get their races started. It's very easy to bog down in the Porsches, as we've seen multiple times, so the drivers will have hoped that they've gotten the requisite practice in. The revs rise and we get ready for round 5 of the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series. We are away, and it's a bad start from Cameron Dance. There we go, big wheel spin, and he might move down to 3rd by the time they get to the first corner. Matty Jones moves up into 2nd, and it's Matthew Bowler who leads the way into turn 1. Looked like Jones went a bit deep there, and Cam thought about doing the over-under, but it's not going to happen just yet, as it looks like a pretty clean start for the majority of the field comes streaming through the corners. 999 of Ryan Houlihan involved in one heck of a battle here. And have a look at that. It seems that Brady Baldwin fancies a move up the inside of Cameron Dance, and they just managed to give each other enough room there. Baldwin unsuccessful in his move, but certainly clean racing for sure, as we check out everybody going into the Ferradura corner. Very difficult to make a move there. Looks like Simon Mazzomo is going to have to wait a few more corners to get that done on Brady Baldwin, but he's got Thomas Hinds right behind him, who'll be looking to make up positions.
So far, so good for the front of the field, but Bowler's already got those couple of car lengths at the very front of it all. So, despite the fact that it looks like he's running a low downforce setup from what we were seeing in the qualifying sector times, he's got this race start just the way he wants. Jones, obviously a good launch for him up into P2 there, indeed, but Cameron Dance has now been able to settle in and sort of hustle him here through this mid-sector as we have a little interesting shot there as we look out the back this time of Mazzomo in the 551, and Thomas Hinds, one of our other big movers as well, up a couple of spots for him as well. And there goes Cameron Dance up the inside of Matty Jones out of, goodness me, pardon me, that last couple of corners there, and then through Sabita to boxes. John Sauer is the corner I was looking for there. So car 6 gets himself back up towards the front row, but Bowler has streaked out here in this opening lap. As long as he doesn't overdrive the car through the mid-sectors race, I think he's put himself in an excellent spot to hang on there at the front. But the battle for P2 and further onwards, I think, is going to be incredibly contested. Look at that there. Between Cameron Dance in P2 and Blake Neck back in P7, we've got ourselves pretty much one unbroken line of cars.
That's fantastic, and it's exactly what we want to see. It would be nice if they were a bit closer to Bowler, but what can you do? There's no moves being made into Cedar de Largo as things stand. Everyone just trying to get into a rhythm now and make sure that their tyres are up to temperature, up to pressure, and then they can really start pushing. And it looks like we've already got a car on the lane, Mark Noble. And of course, there's no mandatory pit stop in this race, so evidently is a big issue there for Noble in the KRF Motorsports machine.
Yeah, mechanical black flag has been issued to the 63, so that will be his race effectively done. He can obviously get that repaired, but with no fast repairs available here in this series, as per other Oceanic sim racing events of this scope and scale, that will mean his race is going to be, well, spending quite some time in the box before he's allowed back out, which means at least 2, maybe even 3 laps down, depending on the amount of damage here for that car. As we right on board with the number 42 of Blake Neck here, running in P7, has lost a spot since the race start to Thomas Hinz. But here we come now out of Sabita dos Boxes, the front straightaway here. This is where you're going to see top speeds tonight, looking at around 260 kilometers an hour for those in the tow. But looks like they're all pretty well evenly balanced here, and well, no surprises there at this stage, to be honest, Reese. Everyone's lining up for a shot at Matty Jones and Cameron Dance, it would seem, in this phase of the race, because Bowler has continued to hold that gap. He's currently got himself 1.2 seconds between himself and Cam Dance in P2.
Yep, continuing to extend that lead, and Bowler is doing exactly what he needs to do at the moment as Mazomo pulls out for a move there on Brady Baldwin, trying his best to get that position back, but it's not going to happen. Compromised himself a little on exit. It's brought Thomas Hinz right into the fight here. We'll take a look as they make their way into Junsao. No, sorry, it's Ferradura. Getting my corner names confused. Mazomo's holding the outside very nicely, but that's going to be an off track for him. Got to be careful of the incident limit here. It's about 20 as Thomas Hinz sees the door open, tries to get up the inside, but Mazomo will have the inside for Pinheirino. And here we go. Pico de Pato. Very slow hairpin, good overtaking spot, but you can definitely hold the outside as Mazomo is proving. So that's going to sort them out for the time being. When this calms down a little, I'd like to take another look at the race start, because we will have answers for what happened to Mark Noble there. Just a little note that I wanted to put out there, as Thomas Hinz now will try to find his way past Simon Mazomo down the front straight here, get in the draft, try and set up a move on the inside. Mazomo's going to go defensive. Hinz trying to snatch away as much draft as he can. Mazomo's going to stay ahead into the braking zone, but can Hinzy take him round the outside at turn 1? No, unfortunately, not going to happen this time around.
Yeah, the center S is going to be an incredibly difficult spot for anyone to be able to make something work around the outside of turn 1 in particular. You can see here that's actually made Hinz a little bit more vulnerable to an attack from Blake Neck, but again down the straightaway here of the Reddit Reposter, it looks like these guys are all relatively balanced on downforce. Maybe Hinz running a little bit less wing than Neck, which means he's going to be a little bit better on the straightaway there, even when he's a little bit compromised. Back to a virtual racing school replay here, Reese, to see what happened at the start of this race with Mark Noble and Connor Kingsley. See there, look at them fanning out immediately, and then, oh dear. Yeah. Oh, goodness me. So we're, just to clarify, in the in-game chat, Connor Kingston reporting it was a wheel failure for the 087.
That was that was at the start of qualifying, I think.
No, that came.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that came through. That came through during the race session here. So actually, there you go. Car stalled, and then oh goodness me, 308 machine there of Anthony Green fires across into the side. So in fact, several cars having trouble there at the race start, because Connor Kingston's message came through here early on in the race, and as we go back to live pictures, Noble's car still in the pit lane once again. So yeah, a lot of people having trouble as well. Just as we cut away to the replay race, I just saw the activity heating up here for the fight over second place. Matty Jones having a proper go at the rear of Cameron Dance, but able to fend off through the mid-sector, I should say. But here comes Jones once again as we approach the center S here to start lap 5.
Whoa,
oh no, he's locked it up.
There we go. Matty Jones fires off the racetrack. He's going to keep it out of the wall. But be careful of the re-entry here. You don't want to fire yourself back onto the racing line. There we go. He rejoins the track, but he's going to lose even more positions here. That's a huge shame there for Matty Jones, now down to 9th place behind Daniel Cheney. And it looks like he's trying to protect here from Ryan Houlihan. That was a bit of a spirited defense. I don't think Houlihan's going to be very happy with that.
Oh, yeah, that was pushing limits of the track there to the edge, but Houlihan able to hang on to it, and then looks like nothing too much coming apart as a result of that. So that moves everyone up a place as here comes Thomas Hinz once again on Mazomo into turn number 8 here, but again Mazomo's going to have the inside for Pinheirino. Oh, little nudge as they run wide through the middle of the corner, side by side on the exit. Mazomo and nose ahead here up into Pico de Pato once more. Can Mazomo do that outside traction line that we saw last lap? No, he cannot. Hinz finally gets that spot and moves himself up into the top 4 now, and try and set his sights on Brady Baldwin, who's now got 3rd place here as they come through Junsao to end this lap. But, oh, wide from Hinz. He's going to be exposed to a run here onto the front straight. And here comes Mazomo now looking for that spot straight away once again. Blake Neck also wide through Junsao, but that's a decent amount of drive off the corner for the 42 behind here. But we on board with the 551 of Mazomo. up through Bitcoat. Oh, through Sabita does boxes, almost into the inside fence there, Reese. Hinz giving him absolutely nothing to the inside, but it's going to be an outside attempt at the center S. But surely he's going to have to tuck that one back in here, and he does at turn 1. Try and set the run up for the Reto Riposta this time by.
Oh, goodness, that was a good bit of racing there, but Mazzomo almost getting into the wall on the inside of pit lane. Here's Matty Jones trying to work his way up. He's just made his way past Daniel Cheney in the opening sequence of corners. Now he'll set his sights on Benjamin Faulkner once he's done with the 2 cars in his mirrors, evidently. Houlihan sees the opportunity and tries to go up the inside of Cheney at Interlagos, and a successful move that one is.
Yep, just a open door there, obviously as a result of a move through the center S and out through a Curva de Sol. And yeah, able to make full use of that exposed and compromised run through that first couple of corners as we switch back to this fight over P4 here. Mazzomo still looking pretty racy through the mid-sector of the circuit. And then up to Pico Tabato, pardon me, here for lap number 6 of 19. All pretty even, but I think looking at it again, it seems as though Mazzomo is looking like a little more stable and confident through these lower speed traction corners compared to Hinz. But the straightaway speed, if the corner is done right like it is this time for Hinz out of corners like Junsao, should be pretty comfortable and able to not worry too much about the defenses. Look at that, Matty Jones already up the road from Cheney and Houlihan, and his eyes are now locked onto the back of Ben Faulkner in the 042. As we come up to turn 1 once again here. Not closing as fast as I would think, Reese, but it's actually, we're losing a little bit of time there on approach to the center S, but if you can set this up right, should be a pretty good chance down the end of the Reto Riposta this time by.
Definitely got a much better entry into the center S, and it seems mid-corner speed is where Matty Jones has the advantage over Faulkner here, and it's a very nice exit from Curva de Sol into the slipstream. Then he's going to definitely pull out and make a move here. Oh, but is he far up enough alongside to make the move? He is indeed. He is going to make it, and it looked like Faulkner saw him coming there, realised that Jones was usually a bit further up in the field, and the pace difference there, not really worth fighting at that stage. Unfortunately for Matty, he has got a long time forward to the likes of Blake Neck, Simon Mazzomo and Thomas Hinz, around 7 seconds to that battle. But let's see how much time he can make up, because they are battling incredibly hard.
They are indeed. Looking at the lap times from that group of cars, they're actually all in about the low 134s. Hinz just sneaking into the high 133s that time by. But yeah, with around 5.2 seconds to be precise between Blake Neck and Matty Jones at the back of the train. Let these guys settle in for a bit, will dictate things. So I think, Jones in the meantime almost dropping the right rear off the exit of Junsao there, and that would have soured his run down the front straight away. But I'm thinking here it's going to take a serious bit of fighting from the group ahead. He clearly had good pace in qualifying, but I don't think it would have been it'd be enough pace difference to be able to pull or close the gap up. And to me, it looks like he's running a higher downforce setup there, because Ben Faulkner had a very nice run out of Junsao, and in the slipstream was really catching him down, which we didn't see from Jones in comparison when he was chasing Faulkner last time around. On board with number 1, Thomas Hinz, looking for P3 this time. Into to Interlagos. Baldwin gives him the space on the inside, opts to take the 1X by running out a little wide on the exit of the corner there. But he's going to have the inside for Ferradura and Larahina, but Hinz is going to commit to the outside here, race side by side through the double right-handed complex, and it's still going to be side by side as we come up to turn number 8. He's going to have to try and outbrake Baldwin here, but again, if Baldwin can just plant the apex here, good drive off the corner. He's got a pincer Hinz here at Pinarino, but he's given too much space to the number 1 car. Job done after 3 corners side by side.
There we go. Good stuff there from Thomas Hinz, taking advantage of that outside entry and definitely putting himself up the inside for Pinarino, which is Brazilian Portuguese for Little Pine Tree, if anyone is curious. Hinzy is now up into the top 3. And
around!
Mazzomo getting off the curb there on the exit of Junsao. That is not a place you want to go wide at all. That curb is very rough, especially in a rear-wheel drive car like this one. Looks like a safe re-entry there for Mazomo. Hins is still under threat from Brady Baldwin, though, goes to the outside. A big dart to the outside of the entry to turn 1. Not going to happen this time around, though, as we check out the Virtual Racing School replay of what happened to Simon Mazomo on board. Coming through Mogulo and down to Junsao, the last proper corner on the racetrack. You just try and get on the power as early as you can, but if you just touch the grass, no traction control in these cars, there's only one way that's going to go.
Fortunate there for Mazomo. Has been looking really solid in this pack, but it's just a case of opening the steering up, trying to get the power down there out of Junsao indeed. And you just watch there, grabs the grass beyond the AstroTurf, and Blake Neck
Lucky
opts to
escape.
go around the rear of Mazomo's car as it slid out to the side of the track, and indeed finds the one car width remaining before Mazomo slid out towards the grass. So back to live pitches, the 551 is now down to P11. It's certainly not where he wants to be, and he's now got to try and chase down drivers such as Craig Mason and the two drivers here on screen with you, Daniel Cheney and Ryan Houlihan here in 8th and 9th.
Close battle between these two. It's remained close since the very start of the race, in fact. It does seem to be a bit more space between them happening now, but they're still showing up as a big battle on the circuit. Don't forget they've got Benjamin Faulkner up ahead of them as well. If Faulkner makes a mistake, they will be right there to take advantage. It's been a reasonable run from Daniel Cheney and Ryan Houlihan. They remain in the positions that they started in, but that's half the battle, really, when you're in a race like this. As long as you can maintain position, it's often better than losing.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah, if you can... Oh, that's a little lock up there. Matty Jones deep at turn 1 again.
No.
That's now twice the 087's made a mistake under brakes into the first corner there. Ben Faulkner goes through as a result. And now Ryan Houlihan's got a chance to get a spot back on the 087 and start making some moves forward. But we'll see here down the Reta Robusta towards the Cedar del Lago. Jones covers early and then back across the racing line to give the 999 no options there. So set up the run out of Del Lago here at turns 4 and 5. Does Houlihan, looks to the outside for Ferradura. That's a risky spot to be, but no, he's able to tuck back in line and not able to get alongside before the corner entry. There is someone who is going to go for an inside move. As Mazomo on the inside of Craig Mason there gets his first place back after that spin there on the inside of Ferradura, and job done here, it seems, as they approach turn 8. Wide entry, but Mason not able to stick the nose up the inside to contest.
Well, we continue to behold Matty Jones and the poor luck that he suffered at turn 1. Winds are blowing from the east at 9 kilometers an hour. I'm not too sure about the orientation of this track, but that might result in a tailwind into turn 1. Potentially, that could be the reason why we've seen so many cars making mistakes into there. But that's going to be the last thing on Matty Jones's mind as he tries to line up Benjamin Faulkner for a move into T1. Let's see then what he can do. Big look, but it's not going to be successful. Just way too far back to get the move done. We're hearing there's a tailwind at the exit of turn 1. Yeah, and that pretty much makes sense. So might be a little bit of a crosswind into the first corner, but Matty Jones is going to have the move here potentially into Desida del Lago. He looks to the inside of Benjamin Faulkner. He's still too far back to make a move. And have a look at Ryan Houlihan. He decides, yes, I'm going to make myself a part of this. Matty Jones in return says, no thank you, sir. I'm going to take my line and I'm going to resume this battle.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this all now, and it really does feel like as though I'm seeing here a real difference in car setup choice. Faulkner looks to have better straight line speed and therefore able to defend without too much active defense there, as it were, because the straight line speed advantage he's got, despite being the one offering up the toe to these guys behind, seems to be enough to not have to worry about it. But Jones here a lot more confident under brakes and through the corners is what I would have said up until this point, but now he seems to be struggling a bit with getting the power down and getting itself pulled up from the really high speed stuff. Is just in behind here, looking at Craig Mason and Connor Kingston. Pardon me, Connor Kingston and Jaden Mollenhauer. Apologies there. That's Kingston through in the 919 on the 921. So Kingston back to where he started this race this evening here. Mollenhauer is still up 3 spots, though, in that 921 machine. as these two guys come through Junsao to end their 11th lap of the race. And this time at the front stretch, Houlihan attacking Jones. He's going to have to go the long way around, though, under brakes here into the center S. But I think here we go. We're now really starting to see this difference of setup direction now, because it's really putting a couple of these drivers under threat. Meanwhile, back to the front of the field there real quick. Look at the gap that Matt Bowles pulled. We've gone up from 1.2 seconds in the early phase to 3.8, and, well, on its way to 4 seconds as this next pack behind, though, continues to dice back and forth here, Reese.
Yeah, Matty Jones will be a bit frustrated here. He's just not been able to get the run on Benjamin Faulkner that he wants, and I think the mistakes that he's made have compounded his frustration a little bit as they come then into the big twisties in the middle of the track. See if there's any courage in any of these guys to make a move.
A wobble.
Yeah, big wobble there from Ryan Houlihan. He is pushing incredibly hard here to try and catch up to Matty Jones and Benjamin Faulkner. There's not going to be any moves made into this hairpin, though you can see Jones is making up a lot of time on corner entry. He's very confident in that front end.
Yeah, it seems to be working so well so far, but he's going to be very vulnerable down the front straight again. Up in Junsao, it's all about trying to get the exit right here. If he can stay close like this, he has a decent chance, but he's really pushing the track limits there. Able to keep it all nice and tidy, though. So right under the bumper of Faulkner. Now he's in the position here where he should have a chance at making a move, but it just looks like, again, Faulkner's able to, if not hold distance, I think he's even starting to inch away here. So it's going to have to come really deep under brakes from the 087 here into turn one. He looks to the inside, and there comes the fire. Up the inside, but the inside front tyre locks again, and it's just not working here for the 087. And now Houlihan all over the back, but compromised through the center S. Oh, a little bit of rear tyre giving way there almost for the 087. He's now under pressure from Houlihan. He's going to defend this one. Houlihan's going to force the inside. No, door opens on the inside, but Jones is able to brake late enough to cover it off. Houlihan has to tuck back in. Daniel Cheney, meanwhile, still watching on there from position number 9 and waiting for a chance to have a clean go here, you would think. But, feels like we're sort of getting a cork in a bottle situation here. Any one of these drivers, particularly Faulkner and Jones, I'd say, Reese, they're both pushing really hard in their different spots of the circuit, it seems. But, well, this could go off any moment now if one mistake is made.
Yeah, we'll wait with bated breath to see how it all goes. And definitely Matty Jones is very strong here in the slowest section of the track. He's going to have to keep an eye out for Ryan Houlihan behind. Remember, this is the battle for 6th place on the road. It's not exactly a fight for the win, but these drivers are definitely going about their business like it is. It's fantastic to watch. And Jones still a bit far back here from Faulkner, and if Faulkner is running a low downforce setup like we suspect he is, it's not going to give Matty much of an advantage. He's definitely not going to try the move into turn 1 again this time, because I think that incident last lap was a case of optimism, I think, outweighing the car's capabilities.
Oh, there's the chance, though, through Curva de Sol. Faulkner deep on the exit, the center S now. Got ourselves a drag race down the Reta Reposta. This is now where Jones has got a prime opportunity here. Side-by-side drag race. Faulkner. Oh, the squeeze through Faulkner causes contact. Round goes Faulkner in the 042. Oh, we'll have to see what race control think of that one there. He's immediately on the radio about that one there, but Jones now released from that defense. But I reckon now this puts him in a bit of a vulnerable spot to someone like Houlihan, depending on how Houlihan's car behaves in a straight line here, or whether he's in a similar setup aero-wise. As Jones, I'm not 100% sure at this stage, based on what we've seen. But, well, 5 to go at the line for these guys. And, well, yeah, from 4 down to 3, and Faulkner only just now recovering that car at Desierto del Lago.
Yeah, it's a big shame there for Faulkner, and looking at the incident again, it does seem like, well, Faulkner was holding his line. Jones was just inching to driver's right a little bit. We'll check it out on the replay here. Just inching to the right was Matty Jones on the way into Desierto del Lago. Faulkner could have afforded to move right a little more. He did have a little bit of space, but at the same time, it is the responsibility of the passing car to make the pass cleanly, and unfortunately, Matty Jones did not do that. Keep an eye on this, looking on from Ryan Houlihan's perspective. Jones gets on the brakes, and yeah, Faulkner was already on the brakes at that point and just made rear quarter contact. It was ever so slight, but it was enough to send Faulkner into the runoff area. Fortunately, he managed to keep it out of the wall, which is very significant, and it looks like that incident is under review by race control.
Yeah, that certainly does need to have a close look, because to be honest, from that perspective there on board with Houlihan into Decido de Lago, that almost looked as though, in my opinion, almost Faulkner inching across towards to defend and force Jones a little bit tight, but we'll have to wait and see what race control says, because here's the next fight we need to keep our eyes on with 4.5 laps to go. Thomas Hins and Cameron Dance, and they've got lap traffic to deal with here on the exit. Oh goodness me, Shane Best there in the 122 as they come out of Bigo de Pardo and down through Magulo there. Thankfully, Best able to get out of the way at a relatively sensible opportunity there to leave these two to fight. Both drivers incredibly wide on the exit of Junsao indeed. But, well, they've dropped off the back of... actually, I'd say they dropped off the back of Matty Ball, but the gap's was up as high as 4.2. Down to 3.9 in between Bowler and Dance, but, well, 0.3 of gap here as they come up the front straight, looking fairly balanced in a straight line here. So 4 to go as into the center race. Oh, a little lock from Hins. That's going to lose a couple of tenths there, Reese. And just again, drivers pushing the limits of this track here. It's a very unforgiving turn 1, but even so... Oh, hang on, Dance is having a bit of issues out of P2 with his connection to the server, for good measure.
Yeah, not good there for Dance, but good for Blake Neck, because he's sizing up Brady Baldwin for a potential manoeuvre. Just moving around in the mirrors maybe a little bit as Baldwin catching the grass on the entry to the corner. That didn't seem to hurt him too much, but still, that's a little bit further right than you'd ideally like to be. And there's potential here for Blake Neck to get a top 4 finish from this. Baldwin's been driving really well, I have to say. You know, he's... Oh, goodness. Looked like a big lock-up from someone up ahead. Tyre smoke from Hins, who was doing a little bit more of a lock-up dance on the way into the hairpin. We'll get a short replay of what went on for him there. Actually, we're going to check out Taylor Oakes and Jaden Mollenhauer down in 11th and 12th. Something's going on between these two coming into turn 1. A very interesting dive to the inside there by Taylor Oakes, and just going a bit deep into turn 1 maybe. No, hooked it up very nicely and was able to get the move done really well. But looks like we'll be staying on the replay. No, we won't. That was all there was to it. Fantastic job there from Taylor Oakes to get by Mollenhauer. See, that's how you make a pass at turn 1.
They're speaking of turn 1 passes. Blake Neck having a go at Brady Baldwin, but he's been forced to the outside there. Oh, crisscross attempt on the apex of the center S there. Baldwin shuts it off by clamping down on Neck's car, but through Curva de Sola. That's a good run for the 42. All kinds of pressure on the rear of the number 7 there as Neck is looking left and right to get past here. Down the Reta Raposta we come. Side by side for P4 here, and Neck late on the brakes on the inside of Decido Lago, and he gets it pulled up there. Looks like he's going to get a job done. Oh, almost, but he's slow off the exit of the corner, and Baldwin's back through on the outside now as we approach Ferradura and Larahina, and he gets it done before we turn in for those corners. So back and forth we go for P4. These guys can't figure it out yet. Oh, massive moment there for Neck, but he holds it together. Oh, goodness me. This is 2.5 laps of racing to go here, and these boys are giving it absolutely everything here. So we've got ourselves a fight for P2, Reese, fight for P4, and, well, unfortunately, in other news, Race Control have indeed reviewed that incident with Faulkner and Jones, and the 087 of Matty Jones has indeed been issued a penalty for the incident,
which he has served. Just came into the pits about a minute ago. So we move back to the battle for 6th. Ryan Houlihan and Daniel Cheney now on their own, with Matty Jones now out of the picture thanks to his penalty. It looks like a nice size up here from Cheney. Can he get the move done into turn 1 all the way up into top gear for these guys as Neck continues to chase Baldwin? There's Houlihan and Cheney. Oh, what can Daniel do here? isn't going to make the move up the inside into turn 1, just doesn't have the overlap, and I think it's a sensible decision. Just try and nail the exit of the center S. Get yourself a good run down the Reto Acosta, and then you'll be able to do it, as it looks like Blake Neck has just about gotten past Brady Baldwin, getting up the inside, as you say there, Daniel, but it looks like Baldwin's going to hold the inside into Ferradura. So this battle is going to continue on, but we've seen the outside entry. Oh, the outside entry into this next corner has a good advantage. Neck, unfortunately, with that mistake, had to back out of it.
Oh, goodness me, he fired it up the inside there at the Interlagos once again. This time, though, Baldwin couldn't get the crisscross on the corner exit. Had to settle to try and get the run around the outside of the turn, but he's made that work. And yeah, Blake Neck is really pushing that car to its limits, it seems. And oh, he's fried the rears. He's sideways through Magulo as well. That car is absolutely complaining here with 1 lap to go. I'm not sure Blake Neck's going to be able to mount another chance, because those rears will be fried and he'll have to try and cool them down if he wants to go again. But that means backing it off a fraction. White flag is taken by the race leader, Matthew Bowler. Gap back to P2 is still 3.8 seconds. He's backed it off a fraction here. But Thomas Hinz there still running P3. Still half a chance of getting it off Cameron Dance. And then here's his fight for 4th. Blake Neck close on the entry to turn 1, but nothing of it this time. That's Shane Best there, out of position there, lap down. And then there's our fight for 6th as they come across the line. Mazomo recovering to P8 here as he continues to try and close down the gap, but 2.929 seconds there. I would have to be a mistake for him to close up there at this stage as Neck tries again at Interlagos. 3 laps in a row between these two. Baldwin round the outside once again. He's got a nose ahead here, Reece. We're going to have ourselves another drag race, I expect, up through Ferradura and Larahina.
Goodness me. Well, if Blake Neck can keep the car straight, looks like he's backed out of it in Ferradura. He's going to try and go for the crisscross here up the inside into the hairpins. No, looks like Baldwin is covering it nicely. Can Neck hold it around the outside? No, he cannot. He's going to have to wait now, potentially get the power down out of Junsao. That's all he's going to hope for at this point. Been a brilliant defense here from Brady Baldwin, but also brilliant attacks by Blake Neck. They've managed to keep it clean, and they've managed to put on an excellent show there in the battle for 4th. But no more corners to go for Matthew Bowler, at least none that the car really notices. Coming through onto the pit straight here at Interlagos. A dominant performance from Matthew Bowler. He takes the first win of the night here at Interlagos. Brilliant stuff.
He does indeed. Cameron Dance holds on for P2 there. Hinz in P3. Drag race to the line for 4th and 5th, but they're going to stay the way they were at the start of the lap. And then leaves us one more fight here inside the top 10, I believe, with Houlihan and Shinny. They're going to run to the line as they were as well, it would seem. So a lot of these drag race pairs, in the end, finish the way they started here on this lap at least, as the last couple of cars make their way around to finish their lap. Ben Faulkner on a bit of a recovery drive here up to P14. But unfortunately, that was a very lengthy time for him to get that car out of the gravel and grass there at Interlagos. But onto the front stretch, he'll get a chance to recover here with, as you said, the full grid invert for this next race will put him in a favourable position when it comes to his starting place compared to the guys he was racing in this first one up until the incident, as number 12, Matt Bowler, decides to shred what's left of the Michelin rubber on the rear of his car.
Well, that means we can go through the unofficial race results here from race 1 of the night in the flat sixes here at Interlagos. It is Matthew Bowler who takes victory. Cameron Dance in 2nd and Thomas Hinz in 3rd. Baldwin and Neck round out the top 5. That was a brilliant battle between them. Houlihan, Cheney, Mazomo, Jones and Kingston will round out the top 10. Very good recovery by Connor Kingston considering his issues at the start.
Yep, absolutely indeed there when it comes to good drives. So Taylor Oakes, the next car there, outside of the top 10. They had a Jaden Mollenhauer and Craig Mason there in 13th. Ben Faulkner, Isaac Edwards, Pete Manette and John Courtney round out your 17 cars, finishing on the lead lap here in this first one. And then Shane Best, 1 lap down. Anthony Green caught up in that race start drama. 2 laps down for him, and unfortunately Mark Noble did not finish the race after pulling it in to fix his car up. So they will have a bit of work to do, but they will start out of the front spots in this second race. But Time for us to take a quick break here, Reese, and get reset because, of course, the Jetta Cup is up next before we come back to the Flat Sixes to round out this evening's racing.
Indeed. Will stay with us here on SimSpeed TV. Jetta action coming up.
When I'm driving an F1 car, steering wheel feedback is one of the most important things. It helps me decide when to brake and how hard. It's how I feel the surface of the road. Every bump in the terrain, every wheel slip. If my tyres are starting to lose grip, I can sense that immediately. When I'm driving in a sim, I need that same tactility, that level of detail I have in a real car.
Racing games have come a long way in the last 20 years. Nothing's really changed in how we approach force feedback in all that time. Cutting-edge sims are now so realistic, drivers across all disciplines are using them for training. Our main goal when designing True Force was to improve the number of sensations that you actually feel, to put you better in contact with the car that you're driving so that you can improve your performance and that enjoyment of driving on a track. The physical feedback needs to be more immediate or accurate, or a player loses immersion or control.
Game developers are still having to recreate their force feedback from a set library of effects instead of deriving it from real-time modelling.
True Force is special because it levels the playing field for PC and console gamers. You're now getting the extra level of precision and detail that you need, regardless of which platform is your choice. This is not just iteration, it's total evolution. True Force force feedback works differently. It hooks directly into the physics engine of the game. Games already calculate the forces on the tyres and the steering wheel. The True Force algorithm is able to process this data at up to 4,000 times a second. It will even use the game's audio engine and pass it directly on to the driver.
We spend a lot of time as audio designers trying to make each car sound unique and as realistic as we possibly can. Being able to integrate the audio into the force feedback is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and True Force enables us to do that. And the ability to send the audio to the wheel, to have it respond and vibrate with the loss of traction, really increases my ability to give that immersion to the player.
You can sense the changing surface of the road. You'll be able to feel if the back end of the car is losing grip.
The first time we had it running in the build, I could feel the wheel humming and vibrating as we revved the engine. Our immediate reaction was it really adds another level of immersion.
The first thing you're going to feel with a True Force wheel is the engine note. The minute the engine starts in the game, you will know exactly which car you are driving. True Force is the beginning of something new. This is now the foundation for all wheels that we'll produce in the future. This extra level of information gives everyone all the information they need to learn how to control their car better. True Force benefits any racing fan looking for a more realistic driving experience.
Because winning is all about feeling.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
Good evening, one. Good evening, all, and welcome back to SimSpeed TV. Here on a Friday night, it's the return of Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series as the calendar comes to Interlagos in Brazil for the 5th round of the V8SCOPS Championship, and it means also the 5th round we're seeing that the Support Series are out on track tonight. My name is Eno Yeaman, and tonight, still in the comms box after our first of the Flat Sixes races. Time now for our Jetta Cup events. Jay Kennedy joining me in the comms box as Reese Gardner was here earlier on in the comms as jumping behind the wheel of his Fusion Sim Racing Jetta, so we're without his services for a little bit here. But Jay, another one of the 10-15 reverse sprints here for these Jetta Cup cars, and qualifying 10 minutes open is just getting underway right now. Apologies there, folks. Small technical issues, but we'll have Jay with us in just a moment's time.
There we go. Fixed it. That's it's loves disconnecting my microphone for some reason. But hello everyone. Yeah, looking forward to this. The Jetta Cup has provided some very, very interesting, entertaining racing. Short sprint races, cars with absolutely no power. 100% about momentum, and maintaining the momentum will get you good results. Easier said than done. And we've seen some brilliant racing throughout the season so far. Tonight's racing should be very, very interesting. We're looking at a 6 and a potentially 8 or 9 lap race for our drivers. Full reverse grid for race 2 as per usual. Racing should be very, very entertaining. I'm looking forward to seeing how it does play out.
Yeah, it is going to be a fascinating one because I've never seen, again, it's this year sort of been the year of discovery when it comes to how does the Jetta race at a variety of circuits, such as all these here on the Scops calendar this year. And, well, I guess never say never when it comes to finding out how these things go, as qualifying is underway here. 8 minutes 40 on the clock, and a hard cut, just like we saw in the Flat Sixes earlier this evening, means that these guys are going to have to try and push to get as many laps in as they can. So the 0-3, Aaron Gilbert, the first car out on track here in qualifying, and in a bit of a world of his own, it would seem. So not going to have to worry about giving away a slipstream if such a thing exists in these cars around here, which I would wager it does just a little bit. So his focus will just be on getting a clean lap in the books as practice times in the high 1 minute 51 through to the low 1 52 range here this evening. So that gives you an idea of the pace of these cars as up to the start-finish line. Gilbert, the first one to begin a flying lap, and scintillating speed of 190 kilometers an hour into turn 1 here, Jay.
Yeah, not the most incredible speeds when you look at the kilometers per hour, but the momentum is, as I said, the key to these cars. You need to make sure that you keep the flow of the car going. You don't want to slow it down too much. You don't want to make sure that you're stopping and starting the car too aggressively. If you do that, you find yourself in all sorts of troubles in regards to your pace on the lap. So maintaining momentum, way more important than top line speed or straight line speed. Straight line speed, almost non-existent in these cars.
Yep, so indeed, production car, which has been very, very lightly modified for the purposes of actual racing once upon a time in America, I believe, hence where we get this car virtually from, although now certainly consigned to the deep, dark archives of the iRacing platform of options here, as first couple of sectors are coming in for these drivers, and it looks like Carl Ridley fastest through Sector 1 at this stage, but Aaron Gilbert, first one on track, currently looking to be the best through Sector 2, and we'll wait for Sector 3 here in a moment time for the next couple of cars to come through at least, as that will be an interesting comparison there as well. But round we go, and Carl really stolen back the purple in the middle sector of the track here. So, see here now, Aaron Gilbert not quite the fastest through the penultimate sector either on this first flying lap, so maybe a bit of work there for him preferably, but coming up towards the line eventually at some point in the not too distant future. And yeah, past a bit of those boxes now, and finally approaching the line. First flying lap on the board. It's going to be a 153.1. Now that's quite impressive there, because that's not too far off what we saw from the front runners in qualifying. Actually, pardon me, about 0.8 back, almost exactly, as Kyle Ridley going to be our next car across the line Here's perhaps a bit
nice
more of a
lap.
reference as to exactly what the speed is like. 52.142 out of Ridley there, so that's a bit of a benchmark time to say the least. Ray Oliver was next across the line, but an invalidated lap for him sees him have to tuck back in on this lap, which has been a good setup for him, I think, to get this one underway. But Dan Stevens there up into second place in the number 1 machine for Middle Finger Racing, the next car inside a second. And Liz and Wills there came across the line in behind that group of cars we just saw, but no time set for him either, so pushing the track limits a little too hard perhaps as we switch back to Reece Gardner here in the number 94. Vision Sim Racing there and up into the top gear now as these cars quietly make their way across the line. Looks like this is going to be a modest start for Reece here in the first flying lap, but also doesn't look to have counted here, Jay, so he's going to have to go again. And look at that, we're already halfway into this qualifying session.
Yeah, not going to get many runs at it. Of course, as we said before, hard cut for qualifying. So once you cross the line, you won't be able to complete your last lap. When the clock hits 0, that is the end of the qualifying session. So the one advantage that Aaron Gilbert has is he may get an extra lap from everybody else out on track. It will be interesting to see how that does play out. Ray Oliver at the moment looking very, very strong. Of course, Ray Oliver and Cole Ridley have been very, very strong in this series so far in their mindset cars. So they'll be 2 drivers to watch for sure. They've worked very, very well together, been very, very fast, and have been very, very competitive throughout this season so far. They'll be looking to dominate once again in their black and yellow machines.
Yep, their qualifying pace and their race pace has been uncomparable so far. But it looks like Dan Stevens, I reckon, is in a good spot to challenge this evening. But the second round of time starts coming in for these guys, and there we go. Kyle really just puts the foot down even harder, gets himself into the 1-minute 51s here tonight. Dan Stevens not able to improve on his first lap. 2.9 is going to be no improvement there, but these guys coming across the line here, it looks like, well, most of them here are starting their final qualifying lap here now. So indeed, the question of Aaron Gilbert being that much further up the road, I reckon we'll just give him the chance to get that extra lap in. Just a question of, oh no, Gilbert's had a massive wobble through Ferradura and Laranjina. That's going to upset his car there, but yeah, just watch that timer tick down for him. Curious to see if he gets that extra lap in as Reece Gardner coming up to the line. Decent improvement there to a 53.6 and does put him on the board, but it's back in P6 here tonight, so certainly not the pace he would like. He will get one more chance there to have a flying lap to improve as the rest of our group coming through that mid-sector already. And we watch the clock with bated breath.
They're going to be right on it with around about 150, 152, maybe 153 on the clock. So they may get 2 more laps in it here.
Well, we'll see. They get this lap in, that's for sure. So yeah, whether they get one more here. As up to Junsao come these 2 boys. Oliver still trailing behind Ridley, but they've been able to drop Zach Mitchell there just out of the back of shot. Really showing you the pace differential here between these guys this evening. And yeah, no surprises. Oliver and Ridley being the class of the field when it comes to speed here in the Jettas. Aaron Gilbert gets across the line. He'll have time to go for one more flying lap. And indeed, these guys are going to get one more flying lap in. They make it with about 10 seconds to spare there, Jay. And looks like Zach Mitchell will be the last car to sneak in for one more flying lap here as well. Dan Stevens, the first one across the line, he won't get a chance to improve. Interesting line there across the end of the circuit, 53.2. Unfortunately, that's not going to be an improvement for him on this lap either.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he'll get another one in either, so he is done for the session. So Mitchell, he is done as well. He's pulled it to the side. Aaron Gilbert, good start to his lap. Reece Gardner, who is the next to come across the line, he's improved on a couple of sectors, so he may find himself up the timing sheet a little bit in regards to his pace. I don't know if he's going to find enough to jump up into P5. It's going to be very, very close. But one thing about these cars is it doesn't really matter if you're 0.1 of a second or 2.1 seconds off the pace. The race pace of these cars is completely different, so it really doesn't matter. As long as you can maintain the gap to the car in front, you'll be moved forward just based on the drafting prowess of these cars. So it doesn't really matter that much where you qualify or how much your pace is in qualifying. Racing, completely different in these cars.
Yeah, we're seeing good pack potential from these vehicles indeed. So, looks like the only cars to stay committed to a lap might be these Mindset down on the semi-sport entries of Ridley and Oliver, but even then I'm not seeing any personal bests or purples flashing up on this final lap, and Aaron Gilbert has abandoned his run, and Reece Gardner unfortunately unable to improve on that last lap there. Jay invalidated a lap at some point, so indeed it will be P6 for him tonight, but as you said, stick together as a pack, and that will won't make a difference, I should say. And across the line, one final time, come the 27.99, but no improvement out of them, which means we'll have a chance to go to the grid in just a moment's time here. And indeed, there are your times for this evening. To set the grid for the first of our 2 races here in the Jetta Cup, Kyle Ridley once again makes it another pole position for the 27 machine, with his teammate Ray Oliver alongside him there to lock out the front row once again for Down Under Sim Esports. Dan Stevens brings his number 1 machine up to P3 for the start of this race tonight, and then it's going to be Zach Mitchell alongside him there to round out the second row. Aaron Gilbert there, P5, pardon me, to start this one off, with Reece Gardner going to start it out of P6, and then it's going to be Lyndon Wills there to round out our 7-car grid for the Jetta Cup here at Interlagos. A bit of a small field this evening indeed, Reece, but as we said, that doesn't mean that we are going to have chance for good pack racing all the same between these guys, and it's just going to be a matter of sticking together and maintaining that momentum through the corners.
Yeah, it's a car that purely is momentum based, so as long as you can maintain a gap to the car in front, maintain your momentum and stay in the draft, you will find yourself in a good battle within the car in front. We're just waiting for the timer to tick down because everyone is now on the grid. We'll get racing action underway in just a moment. Got Henry King sitting by in race control. Fingers crossed we won't need to see the safety car out on track for this race. We haven't seen it on track in the Jettas so far this season. Fingers crossed that maintains. I hope I haven't put the commentator's curse on, because everyone knows that I still have it with the commentator's curse, so I'll apologise in advance if we do see a safety car. This will be interesting to see how Ridley and Oliver, though, do play this race. Of course, being teammates, they'll be in constant communication with each other, trying to work out the best way forward for each of them to try and get themselves clear of everyone else. If they can bridge a gap of about 1.5 seconds, they'll be able to clear away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, looking at the gaps in qualifying when it comes to race pace, they've got their qualifying pace isn't about 3 to 5 tenths up on Dan Stevens, but there goes the revs, if you can hear them here, as we get the 5th round of SCOPS Supports underway here, the Jetta Cup in its 4th event of the season. Pretty much drag race there for the front 3 rows, and well, into turn 1 here, it looks like Ray Oliver's going to have a genuine shot here of taking the lead off Kyle Ridley, so indeed inside is best. In they come. Oh, spin for Aaron Gilbert though, on all by himself at turn 1, and unfortunately he's going to be the first one to fall victim. There's a couple of cars taking to the grass through the middle of the centre S there. Zach Mitchell and Reece Gardner amongst them. And there they come off the corner for the first time, and now the game is on. Can Dan Stevens push Mitchell along? The answer is no. He's going to look for the spot immediately here at Desida del Lago for the first time. Holds the inside nicely, and Zach Mitchell attempts to defend the position, but he's in too deep. He's going to have to concede that one there, which means that Stevens gets back his 3rd place there. Looks like the inside line quite favourable off the start. As we go to a quick virtual racing school replay here, Jay, have a quick look again at what happened to Aaron Gilbert on the right side of screen. We'll see him pop in a shot just about now, and the car unfortunately rotated all by himself as we're on board there with Reece Gardner, who then runs in a little bit deep on cold tyres.
Surprising thing I want to bring up there is Reece Gardner actually got a meatball flag from that. So there's a tiny little bit of contact, front wheel onto rear wheel, just there, and that's given Reece Gardner a meatball flag.
I'm seeing it now for myself too. That is the most cruel way to score a mechanical black flag there. And that's the barest of touches. So apparently, there we go. Confirmed that the iRacing Jetta is made of glass, although it doesn't deform or shatter. And now this is interesting here, Jay. Teammates side by side out of Jun Sao here on the first lap. That's going to give Dan Stevens all the slipstream opportunity. Pick your side anywhere you want to go. And look at this indeed, closing in down the front stretch here past a bit of the boxes as we get this first lap complete, and indeed already 2 minutes wiped off the race clock here, so it's going to be, yes, a fast and furious one today. Stevens flicks to the outside as Gardner unfortunately brings his car to the pit lane to fix it up. So Ridley back into the race lead. Little change of position there, but Stevens right in it with these two guys. Zach Mitchell looking to try and close up, but a little sloppy through the middle of the centre S there, missing the second apex, which does compromise his run a fraction as they come out onto the Renault Raposta for their second time here. And looks like we got ourselves, a breakaway of 4 as Linton Wills and Aaron Gilbert go side by side. Just at the back of shot there, Jay. And that'll be the next battle here, and into the corner come. Oh no! Contact between the two cars. And now we await to see. Well, we have one mechanical black flag this race already.
They're good.
Side on contact looks to have gotten away with it here tonight. So looks like there's the answer. You've got to make sure you rub these things nice and straight on if you want to get away with the carnage as they make their way through Pinorino and these infield hairpins here. And Stevens is looking quite racy here in the slipstream once again. As you said there, Jay, it looks like never underestimate the race performance, and don't use the qualifying as a pure benchmark, because it looks like, things are a little different here in race trim.
100%. It's a very, very different way that you drive the car in race pace as well, because you're not focused on the actual line. You're more focused on maintaining momentum to keep up the pace, and the draft is so crucial in these cars. When you're only hitting 170 odd kilometers an hour, if you can get yourself an extra 3 or 4 in the draft, that is huge. Double draft, of course, for Dan Stevens. He's already going slightly faster. In saying that, the way that the Down Under boys have their cars set up, they do look like they've got a little bit more straight line speed, although as they hit the braking zone, Dan Stevens just hits the magic 200 kilometre an hour mark.
Oh, Zach Mitchell out of P4, hits the grass with the right rear on the brakes. That's going to see him detach from that pack there, and he'll fall into a middle ground between Aaron Gilbert and Linton Wills behind him. So what was 4 was whittled down to 3 for the race lead here. And it's all looking fairly steady for now, but into Interlagos for the 3rd time in this race. Slightly different lines there between Ridley and Oliver. Just Ridley possibly trying to push it in on corner entry versus preferring a better line on corner exit there from Oliver perhaps, but all the same, nothing coming of it this time into Ferradura or Laranjina on this time at least. But approaching half race distance on the clock, and quick shot there, top 3 with Mitchell out of, well, not out of shot, pardon me, but a fair ways off now, and sort of racing his own race there in P4. Not the way he'd want this one to go, unfortunately, but it's going to have to be what it is, as up to Pico de Pardo come the top 3, and they're looking now to get every little advantage they can get and set up for Junsao and the run down the front stretch once again. And yeah, indeed, slipstream, you wouldn't think it's super important for a car that doesn't have any aero, but they're a boxy car, which does indeed mean, Jay, that they do punch a nice hole in the air. And as you said, lower top speed without the slipstream means that they're going to be all the more important to pick up whatever you can in a straight line. And the percentage difference, that is going to be important indeed, as we're watching out the back of race leader Kyle Ridley here, Jay. But Ray Oliver's closing in gradually, but Dan Stevens is there as well, of course, just in the back of shot. Now he peeks out to the out from behind Oliver's car as into turn 1 we come. Oh, that's...
Ooh, that was wide from Ridley. He almost threw it away there, threw it off the circuit, but manages to hold on. Top speed that time there, Dan Stevens around about 5 kilometres an hour faster. The interesting thing that these guys have got with this front straight as well is it's uphill as well. So these low-powered cars that struggle to get straight line speed going uphill as well, draft is even more crucial. One thing that may be a little bit of a detriment to these guys is the wind direction. It's a bit of a tailwind, so the draft is not quite as strong as it would normally be at a circuit like this. So the guys at the front of the pack getting a little bit of extra help with the wind, helping them up the hill, rather than what we would normally see of the draft being so critical. But the other part to that is the wind can change direction quite easily here. So we could see that change for race 2.
To wait and see how it goes. It's pretty calm winds at the moment, all the same, 3 kilometers per hour. And indeed, starting to shift direction a little bit here as well, tracking more southeasterly. So that could transition into a crosswind if that keeps up, but we'll have to keep an eye on it later on, I dare suggest. 3 minutes on the clock here. We're going to get 2 more laps of racing. That means as they come round through Magulo once again here. So, indeed, 6 laps going to be the end result here tonight. And Junsao once more pushing the limits. The 2 down under boys there at the front. A little wide of the apex, but they're absolutely pushing for every last bit of momentum they can maintain through the corner as we're now on board with Dan Stevens there in P3. And we're going to watch here. Great to be able to see that on that top tower there, the overlay and the gaps ticking down in time at least. And just here slowly, bit by bit, inching away. And indeed, again, Stevens just over 200 kph, right on 200 kilometers an hour. Another 6 Ks up on the race leader once again. But looks like he's a little deep into brakes at turn 1, Jay. And it's just opening up the gap that he's working to try and pick up on the way down the straights here.
Exactly right. Just not quite getting the speed at the right points. He almost needs to back it off a little bit into turns 1, 2, and 3 to get a better run down this straight here. I think this is where he's got a better chance of actually getting a move done. So we'll see if he decides to try something different on the last lap. Of course, reverse grid as well. He may be thinking, well, P3 will do now, and then I can try and defend the spots from these guys in the next one. We have seen that before, that guys will think about the long term in a series like this, in an event like this. They'll think about race 2 and just try and hold the spot as close as they can, know that they've got pressure when they're behind, and then try and defend from in front. These cars are not too bad in regards to the way you can defend them, so they are cars that you can defend, but if you get them side by side, very, very hard to maintain an outside line, unlike what we saw in the Porsche in the early racer not that long ago, and of course race 2 coming up for the Porsches in not too long as well.
Yeah, it's a good point indeed. Obviously, limited grip from these tyres here means that, well, you're trying to defend a suboptimal line that's going to make life very difficult indeed. Slightly different runs through Junsao that time by, which is a little bit interesting to see there. Oliver in P2 really aggressively turning the car in for the apex curb. So up past the bit of boxes as they come for the penultimate time in this first race here tonight. They are just going to get that 6th lap underway here with the clock ticking down to about 30 seconds remaining. But here we go to the center S, looking into the center of the track this time. Defensive moves. Here we go, almost 3 wide under brakes into the center S. But Stevens, a little nudge to the rear of Oliver. He's going to try and get these 2 side by side through the center S and try and set up what he can and run down that Retta Riposta, which would be ideal. But look at that again through the corner. Just doesn't seem to have that car hooked up the way it needs to be to maximize the speed. And Ray Oliver is now in prime position to go for a move here at Desito del Lago. Stevens looks to the inside, but there's nothing going to be there. And Oliver doesn't commit to the move. He tries to possibly get a fake out perhaps, but no, they stay where they are for the first half of this lap here. Options starting to slip away for Oliver and Stevens, but, well, you'd think between Ridley and Oliver there, 1-2 teammates, you don't do anything too drastic and you just let it play as it is for the time being, unless you're cracking the championship like a hawk and you're going to let it be a free-for-all between teammates. Look at Stevens here. He's hunting for every last opportunity he can, Jay, but this isn't the sector to be doing it, you wouldn't think. And, well, such a low-speed corners for these guys. It's going to be all about trying for something at the end of the lap. But he thinks about it into Pico de Pardo, but nothing coming this time by.
Of course, Ray Oliver is leading this championship as well after the first 3 rounds of racing, so just ahead of his teammate and Kyle Ridley. So this is going to swing the championship back into Ridley's favour at this stage. Of course, one more race to come. Dan Stevens 3rd in the championship. He'll be looking to try and steal this away. He may have enough momentum here up the hill. It's going to be difficult, but if he can just get a little bit, get close enough that he can get alongside, he might be able to do it. Doesn't look like there's enough run though. Kyle Ridley will win, and Oliver's just going to hold on for second. Great clean battle between these 3 guys though.
We are across the line indeed. They finished that lap the way they started it, and yet looks like it's going to be a case of if you're not leading out of Junsao, you're unlikely to get that spot at the end of the race. Zach Mitchell brings it home there for P4. A little lonelier than he would like tonight, I dare suggest. And Aaron Gilbert just out of shot there now in P5. But 6 cars finishing the 7 car starters. Unfortunately, Reece Gardner not able to get that car back out on track this evening after that mechanical black flag at lap 1. Probably the cruelest I've ever seen on iRacing. And there goes our session. So we'll have a minute here to run through the results and then reset for the grid in race number 2. Kyle Ridley, they're only 3/8 of a second there ahead of Ray Oliver in P2. Daniel Stevens inside half a second from the lead at the end of it all there, with Zach Mitchell bringing it home in P4. Quiet race there after that mistake for him, with a 13, almost 14 seconds back, and then Aaron Gilbert recovering to 18 seconds behind for P5, and Linton Wills P6 there, a little ways off the pack. And unfortunately, Reece Gardner not able to finish that one off for him. And then our safety car in the hands of Henry King in position number 8. Well, full invert grid, Jay, means that that safety car is technically going to be occupying the front grid spot, but it does give Reece Gardner here a chance to redeem himself, as it were, with the inside line and the frontmost grid slot occupied here in this second of the 2 races tonight. Let's see how things go. The pace advantage in qualifying for the guys at the back of this pack. We'll be very curious to see what that does to the field, because of course guys at the back will want to come through and catch the guys at the front and get through without too much fuss. 15 minutes on the clock for this one here as we get ready to see the green flag in just under 10 seconds time.
Yep, should be an 8-lap race this one, so 2 laps longer than what we saw in the first race. And the action should be just as heated. I'm pretty sure Reece will be happy that he's got the inside line as well. It'll be easy to defend that spot. And fingers crossed we don't see any wheel-to-wheel contact. You saw how fragile these cars are in race 1. Green flag flies, we're away. Not a bad launch as well.
He's going to have P1 pretty comfortably defended, but already making moves is Ray Oliver up past Zach Mitchell off the start there. And there goes Kyle Ridley looking to make it through as well. And unfortunately for Linton Wills, he's gone from the outside of the front row back to the last car already after a suboptimal start there for the 842. So just how crucial it is to get these cars started well. But up the front, top 3 remain as they were. But yeah, with Ray Oliver already up to P4, the next target for him is Dan Stevens. It's going to be a pretty quick charge up the field, I think. Stevens, though, already looking back of Aaron Gilbert. That makes him vulnerable on corner exit. Here comes the 99 of Oliver. You see here, thinking about the inside perhaps for Ferradura, but Stevens covers it off. Going to force Oliver the long way around here on this first lap. Lights already on in these Jettas after 5 o'clock in game time here. His eyes wide from Gilbert, though. They're at a P2. Jay, sorry, and he's a long way off. Stevens is going to get a free pass up the inside. I dare suggest it's going to be up to Oliver now to try and make something work around the outside of Pinarino, but nothing of it. Brings Zach Mitchell into it for a moment there. There we go. Elbows out here on this second of the Jetta Cup races.
What this has done to it's given Reece Gardner a chance to absolutely break away as Zach Mitchell gets a little tap there from the rear of Ray Oliver's car. No malice involved in it, just a little bit of racing contact. Ridley's been able to take advantage of the loss of momentum from Zach Mitchell, so he's gone from battling for 4th to trying to hold on to 6th.
Yeah, look at this here.
Ridley
Mitchell
way off the track.
Elbows out from the 54, and look at that. Ridley trying to get that car turned back in to the road, but that took a long time for the front end to grip back up. Drops back about a second behind Linton Wills, and he's still losing time as the field ahead is in the tow. So that's going to be a bit of a painful recovery lap for him, but yeah, look at that there. So Stevens up to P2. And now has Aaron Gilbert in behind, but he's got to try and find 1.2 seconds to close down the gap to Reece Gardner. In fact, he's already found about a 10th there, but you can see that gap adjusts ever so slightly there as they come through the center S and Curva de Sol for the second time in this race. A little radio comms there in that one, so I have to wait and see if race control decide if anything needs to be done about that one there. But we'll keep our eyes posted and let you know in a moment.
Gardner now he was out to about a 1.3 second lead. Now we said earlier on that the gap to break the draft is around about 1.5 seconds. Can confirm that is correct because have a look at Dan Stevens. He's now got it back into within a second. So tiny little bit more battling between Stevens, Gilbert and Oliver earlier on in that early in that one was almost enough to mean that Reece Gardner could break away and not have to worry about these guys. It's all changed, and now he's back in a fight once again. But the big positive in Reece Gardner's favour, we've seen how easy it is to defend positions when you're maintaining the inside line, maintaining momentum. So that'll be all he'll be trying to do now, is eyes forward, maintain the line, not worry too much about what's going on behind, especially when he sees behind Gilbert and Oliver fighting as much as they are. Dan Stevens is coming, but that battle for third and fourth is very, very heated right now.
It is indeed, but Oliver's got a good run out there at Jun Sao. He's already up the inside here at Sabidos boxes, and Gilbert, he's looking for whatever slipstream exists ahead from our front two cars, and you can see there the gap has closed up massively. Oh no! Oh, that's you, the camera. For goodness sakes, Joe. I thought he spun. I thought his car rotated on the
I got you then.
Oh, that's cruel. Oh no, we're in trouble ahead. Oh, side by side between Gardner and Stevens as contact. And oh, there goes Ray Oliver. He's now being turned by Gilbert. So there's the chaos I thought was starting to unfold all of a sudden. But look at this. We've got ourselves a 2x2 race. And Kyle Ridley is going to go up the inside of them all around the curve of the Sol and take potentially third place here down the Renault Reposta, but we're 3 wide in the Jettas on the third lap of this race. Oh, it's going to be dicey here in Interlagos, but it looks like they've all made it through okay, and Zach Mitchell comes out the other side in third place for now, Reece. And well, how about that? I may have got completely bamboozled by the camera work, but hey, maybe I was foreshadowing quite a lot there.
I'm surprised how crazy that was. Ray Oliver with the tiniest little bump between he and Zach Mitchell goes from third to sixth, gets fifth back, but wowee, what a fight this is, and these guys are going to keep going at it all the way to the end of the race. This is going to be a fight that we will not see stop for the entirety of this 15 minutes.
No, absolutely not. We've already burned out 5 minutes of the race, but look at this here. Kyle really up the inside of Zach Mitchell. No love lost between these two after what happened on lap 1. Yeah, after what happened down here at Jun Sao on the first lap, I'm not surprised Ridley was unafraid to use the side of his Jetta as a bit of a battering ram to help finish the job. But really, to me, it looks like Mitchell has not got the drive and the momentum that he needs to defend this position that he's currently up in. So expect to see Ray Oliver past, I reckon, this time by as well, because it's not much, but I can just see Ray Oliver inching in quite literally at about an inch at a time from the onboard shots. But here with Reece Gardner in the race lead, Dan Stevens coming at him once again down the front straight. They make contact last time here at the center S, so needs to be careful here. But he's alongside at the braking zone. Gardner later on the brakes initially. Stevens fires it down on the inside though, gets the lead here at the start of lap number 4, but Gardner is right there trying to get a good run through the center S and curve of the Sol. Looks all right, but already looking a little wide on corner exit. Maybe just trying to open the steering a little early there and preserve whatever speed he can, but it's going to bring the rest of the field here. So after they sort of all fanned out in the first race here, Jay, it's looking absolutely fantastic to see these guys all in shot there and covered by just 3.5 seconds in this one so far.
Yeah, all 7 cars in a line, and we've got a true battle for the win, and any of the 7 could win it. Even Linton Wills right at the back there. He's dropping off the back, but doesn't mean that he can't win the race from there, because we've seen how much contact there's been in this one. The elbows have been out, there's been pushing, shoving, and no love lost between any of the 7 cars out on track this race, which is great to see. It's been entertaining as hell. And we're not even halfway through this one as we're on lap 4. We're predicting an 8-lap race, but the pace is a lot slower in this race than we saw in the first one, so we could end up with a lap short just based on the slower race pace.
I have to see is here we go through Picatapato. Kyle Ridley is off with the grass once again, this time looking for the outside around Reece Gardner. Gardner's already redressing this immediately. Zach Mitchell is now up the inside, 3 wide into Jun Sao. This could get dicey here because there goes Kyle Ridley deep, forces Mitchell and Gardner into the grass. So I guess you can call that a bit of a karma or revenge there. Unintentional perhaps, but it still happens. And oh boy, it's gone off. But look at that there. It gives yourself a race leader in the form of Dan Stevens, and his gap is increasing beyond 2 seconds. Aaron Gilbert up to P3. Oh man, it just continues to pop off. And indeed, car pace is certainly all over the place. 153 for the race leader, and a 53 out of Ray Oliver, but then everyone else is a mixed bag of 54s and 56s even, as these guys continue to absolutely brawl here. Kyle Ridley gets himself up into 3rd place finally. Well, once again, I should say, Jay, because well, he's been up and down like a bit of a yo-yo at this stage in this race.
One thing about the pushing, shoving, battling, elbows out racing that we've got, drivers have an incident limit of 20. Now, you'd think in a 15-minute race you should be nowhere near 20. I can confirm one driver is on 16, one driver is on 14, one driver on 11, one on 10. So we could see drivers getting a drive-through for incident limits, a 20 incident limit in a 15-minute race. That is incredible, but not surprising with how aggressive the racing's been.
So yeah, willing to chalk up incidents here, which could easily be 4x car contacts. And then, of course, the nature of this circuit here, Autodromo Carlos Pache, quite a lot of easy opportunities to rack up 1x off tracks through pushing limits, and especially in a car like this, front-wheel drive, limited grip from whatever the tyres happen to be. I think they're a road compound, or at least road or all-weather racing compound at best, which means that, indeed, they've got grooves, which means that they're going to struggle for front-end grip. So if you push, especially here, for example, down into Junsao, run it out a little bit wide, trying to open the corner. That's an off-track there. Run it a little bit wide on corner exit. There's another off-track there, easy enough. So many opportunities to make, well, not necessarily a mistake, but just trying to push and preserve momentum, and it just goes all kinds of wrong. And, well, you can see yourself dropping the incident points. Unfortunately, I can't see those inks because I'm not a session admin, unfortunately. But, well, we've got you to be able to keep an eye on them, it would seem, for us, which will be an interesting development here with 5.5 minutes on the clock. And look at that there. He had 2 seconds at the lead at the start of that last one there, Jay. But, well, we'll talk about that later, because up the inside goes Kyle Ridley on his teammate Ray Oliver. And a very dominant attack there to take second place. Good line from Oliver through the center S to possibly try and set up for the return run. Opens the steering through the curve at Assault. And now for the Red Riposta up to the inside. He swings a long way out, though, very early there. And I think just, rolls out a fraction. They're not going to fight each other here because their focus is on hunting down Dan Stevens to get back to P1 and 2 for them both, respectively, here.
And they are closing at a fairly decent rate. Last lap by Kyle Ridley, 1 second exactly faster than Dan Stevens. So they got it from just over 2 seconds down to a 1 second gap. So they are closing that in and closing it in at a rapid rate. Dan Stevens will be starting to get worried, especially when he knows that there's still 2.5 laps left in this race.
Yeah, it says a lot there about the speed that these guys... I think it does talk a bit about the variance in the speed, I should say, but... Well, now given left to his devices, Kyle Ridley, despite that damage on the left side of the car, looks to be unhindered indeed. So out of Pico de Bardo we go one more, and the gap is down to less than a second. As we quickly look back here to P4 and 5, Aaron Gilbert has got Reese Gardner for company. They're trying to hang on to the back of Ray Oliver, but the gap there is 1.8 seconds. As Ridley's a little loose on Junsao, that's going to compromise his run up the straightaway. And in fact, look at that. Gap opening up for the race lead. Here comes Ray Oliver with a good run off of the corner. So maybe a change of position from these two guys. They are going to have 2 laps to go here at the line. But again, looks like Ray Oliver, he's out early. He's not tucking into the slipstream, and that means he's going to be there on the outside, but breaks early, and indeed, he's not looking to fight his teammate. Oh, but he gets the grass with the right rear tyre on the brakes. Goes for the front-wheel drive drift, and Reese Gardner's also through into P4 at the same time, so action up and down the field, and well, that's going to give Kyle Ridley even a breather again. But look at this, he was up to a 9/10 of a second off Junsao, and he's already got Dan Stevens trying to play mind games and try and break the toe as Aaron Gilbert comes back at Reese Gardner for that 4th place that he lost there at turn 1. And indeed, he's up the inside. Gardner tries to fight it, but that's going to be around the outside and taking a 1x off track at Interlagos, and back to the way they were at the end of last lap, but immediately back towards the inside for Ferradura. Oh, Reese is not letting that one go here, Jay. Up the inside he goes, ahead by a fraction, but can Aaron hold around the outside of Laren here? The answer is he can for the most part, but a little bit too far back. He tucks back in for turn 8, so job done again for Reese within the space of half a lap, but it's bringing Zach Mitchell into the fight for P5 here. Pardon me, P4. As up the front of the field, it's going to be white flag at the line, and Kyle Ridley is lining himself up to be in position just in time for one final push to actually go for the race lead here in this second of the 2 races for the Jetta Cup tonight.
This is going to be a thrilling finish, and any of these 3 could win it. And saying that, Reese Gardner, Aaron Gilbert, Zach Mitchell, that battle could be for the win as well, because little tap on the brakes there from Ridley to make sure he didn't make contact with Dan Stevens. Interesting he used the brake as opposed to just easing off the throttle. So there must have been very, very close to being contact there. White flag will wave. 1.5 minutes just over on the clock. This is going to be a battle all the way to the line.
Go now across the line. Ridley's flicked to the inside here. Up against the pit wall for the center S. Tries to outbrake Stevens and also flick it to the outside of the turn. He's actually compromised Stevens massively through the corner here, but he's going to be up the inside. Now, can he flick to the inside through the curve of Sol? He's on that bumper here as it brings Ray Oliver right back into it. Oh, he's already alongside now. This is going to mean that he's going to have to commit if he wants to move. It's going to be around the outside here at Desito de Lago, pulling up alongside here down the Red Raposta, but he can't get the job done. Stevens throws it in deep, actually covers it off, but they're going to change positions. And, well, Stevens keeps the inside, but this time it's Ferradura and Larahina here. But side by side again, Stevens, pardon me, Ridley is close to committing to the outside move. He tries to go around the outside, but we've seen here it doesn't quite work, it seems, so far in these cars. Stevens continues to commit. Slow inside line. He's trying to cover that off. Through turn 8 we go. Can he get the car across? No, he can't protect the inside for Pinarino. So there we go. They're going to flick back, but now's the run through turns 9 and 10.
Oh, he's just there.
Oh, they're side by side. Still we go here. Oh, one more braking zone to come. It's going to be a drag race off of Junsao at this rate. Through Magula we go. Should be side by side, but no, Stevens can't commit. He's going to have to slot back in underneath. Can he force a bad line out of Ridley here into Junsao? He can, but can he get the line he needs off the corner? He does. Oh, bumps the rear. Rail over, looks to the inside, but here comes Stevens. He's inching up on the rear bumper of Ridley. Oh, this is the slowest drag race I've ever seen. It's possibly one of the best I've seen in quite some time. Stevens is looking, he's got to press into the inside here. Ray Oliver's looking for the outright win here. We're going to get ourselves 3 wide to the line. Contact, Stevens in the lead. Contact again. Oliver's in the fence. Ridley's in the fence. Stevens is in the fence, but Stevens takes the win.
Stevens wins it, facing the wrong direction, and still wins the race. What a battle that was. The official gap at the line, 7/100ths of a second. Wowee, what a race that was.
Ridley's engine is blown from that contact at the end of the race. We're going to have a look at it there on the Virtual Racing School replay, and look at this here. It felt like I was watching a pair of snails because it's just the ever so slow inching and inching up along the outside around Subida dos boxes there for Stevens. Oliver looked to the inside at the pit entry there. In fact, he forces Ridley open. There's the first contact. Second contact between Stevens and Ridley. Bumps Oliver, slams him into the fence, and out goes Ridley again. They slide across, and Stevens ever so lucky to actually come right across the nose of Ridley. I reckon if he hadn't slipped across like that, Ridley tucks on through and gets the race win. But there you go. Stevens wins the race at a 90-degree angle to the track and passes Barney at full reverse to the line as the rest of the field made their way through there. And, well, probably one of our best races we're going to have in a while here, I dare suggest, in the Jetta Cup as we jump on board for another look at that there from the perspective of Ray Oliver here.
Do we send this in for the top 10 or not top 10? I don't know which one it is. First, second, and third all cross the line, not facing forwards. I don't think I've ever seen that in a race anywhere, any series, maybe in the Daytona 500, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'll have to leave it up to you to decide, or we go tag iRacing and we let them decide.
I'll send it through for sure, one way or another. We'll see that feature in a highlights video on iRacing for sure. That was brilliant.
So your race results officially there from the second of the Jetta Cup races tonight to round them out for their appearance here at Interlagos. Daniel Stevens taking the checkered flag with 7/100ths of a second between him and Kyle Ridley at the end of it all. Ray Oliver into the fence early for him, unfortunately, but P3 will be his end result. Aaron Gilbert there bringing it home in 4th place. Now, I saw Reese Gardner go across the line in 4th on track, so I think we found ourselves our first 20x victim
got
there.
20. Yeah, 20 right at the end.
Oh,
I can confirm the numbers at the end. 17 for Stevens, 18 for Ridley, 18 for Oliver, only 3 for Wills. He was very quiet, but 17 for Mitchell, 17 for Gilbert, and 20 for Reese Gardner.
What's the bet that came potentially having to dodge something at the end of the race?
Line, yep.
Oh, that's the most cruel way for it to go for Reece Gardner. So Aaron Gilbert promoted to 4th, with Zach Mitchell just behind, promoted to 5th place across the line, and then Linton Wills elevated to 6th, with Reece Gardner consigned to 7th for that Jetta Cup race there, and then Henrik King serving as race control this evening there in the Porsche Cayman GT4. Well, I think we're going to need a bit of a break here just to catch our breath, let alone transition back to the flat sixes, but it sounds like it's an appropriate time to sort of do it all, I guess, since, well, get ready for the final race this evening. 19 more laps to come from Interlagos here, folks, as part of the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series. We'll return in just a minute's time with the flat sixes to round out the evening's race.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Stock Car Brazil is coming to iRacing. Take the wheel of the same cars that I drive in Brazil's most popular racing series. The Toyota Corolla and Chevy Cruze make their debut in the sim as part of the 2022 Season 2. Feel what it's like to handle more than 400 horsepower from a 6.8-liter V8 engine and more than 500 with push to pass. Take on the challenge of your favorite tracks, from our premier circuit at Interlagos to your favorite road and street courses around the world, with a car unlikely any you've ever driven. It takes a special set of skills to get the most out of these cars. See if you're up for the task.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside. Both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
You're watching SimSpeed TV. Flat Sixes and Jettas here tonight at Interlagos. And it was quite the spectacular race there in the Jettas. I had a front row seat to that. Unfortunate that my night went the way it did, but them's the breaks. It was still some spectacular racing there between Kyle Ridley, Ray Oliver, and Daniel Stevens for those top three positions. Those three guys always turning it up every single week. But we'll switch our attention back to the Flat Sixes for this fifth event of the Logitech G V8SCOPS Supports for 2022. Now we've got another 40-minute race coming up with a full reverse grid and a compulsory pit stop. Once again, I'm Reese Gardner, and it's Dan Yeaman alongside me in the commentary box. Dan, it's getting dark out there. Looks like we're going to be racing into the dusk here in the Porsches.
Yes, indeed. Well, we saw a little bit there at the end of the Jettas as well, but time continues to tick on. It's approaching 5:45 in sim time at the moment, and well, a couple more minutes before we progress this grid into the race session itself. That clock will only continue to tick on just that little bit more. So, currently in the middle of the practice session, and in fact, we are past the scheduled time for what is considered sunset, so it is now very much a question of just how long the sun and what remains of that sunlight hangs around in the sky here, I dare say, Reese. So we have the time up there on screen, 5.5 minutes until the change over to the race session. And in the meantime, we have someone to talk to. And who else but the race one winner from the Flat Sixes earlier this evening. Matthew Bowler joins us in the commentary box this evening, Matt. And welcome along to the SCOPS Support Series tonight, and stamping your mark quite convincingly there in that first race.
Yeah, it went well actually. I think qualifying was a bit annoying because I was up 5/10 or something around the last corner, and I didn't realise it was a heat format, so it cuts out just as it hits the 10-minute mark. So didn't quite get pole, but I knew that had pretty good pace. So yeah, once we got the jump on Cam, I think the main thing was just to hold him at a certain gap, and we did that while looking after our tyres. So yeah, pretty happy to do my first race and get a win. Can't complain with that, so hopefully we can back it up in this second race.
Yeah, you're going to have your work cut out with a full reverse grid, which means you are starting all the way back in 23rd for this second one here tonight. But you do have a compulsory pit stop to take. Any idea about how you want to play that one? Any willingness to sort of mention vague ideas here on broadcast, or you just leave that one there to yourself, and we'll just see where that one play out as it does during the race?
To be honest, I have completely no idea. So, yeah, we'll have to see. If I'm getting held up quite a bit, then I probably will duck in. But yeah, I think I'll probably follow whatever Cam does, or try and get on tyres before him. I think he's really the main competition for me on pace. I know you've probably seen it in AOG. He's up there, right on my pace. So yeah, just gonna try and stay ahead of him. That's the main goal.
Certainly, yeah. As you say, they had a chance to race Cam and other guys like Simon before, but there's plenty of other guys here tonight who are perhaps a little perhaps unfamiliar with when it comes to racing in these cars. Anyone else, I guess, you're sort of keeping an eye on for this one this evening here with the second race coming up?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of good guys here. You know, Hinsey, Brady Baldwin, Blake. There's a whole bunch of people. Mez as well. He nearly chopped me in qualifying. So yeah, I think the main thing is to just look after your tyres. Obviously, it's a long race, and most people will only be taking 2 tyres. So whatever tyres they choose to take, I'm sure they're going to have to be looked after quite well, because towards the end of the race, even with me looking after them in race 1, they still had quite some wear. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yes, indeed. Well, we'll let you go, I think, here, Matt, and hopefully things will be good for you in the second one. We might get a chance to chat to you again after everything's all said and done.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks for having me, guys.
Not a problem there. So your race 1 winner, Matthew Bowler.
Indeed. Well, we are definitely getting a good view here of how dark it is out on track on board with Matty Jones, who has a bit of redemption to do here in race 2. Because race 1 did not go to plan, and now it's definitely obvious. You can only really see by your headlights, and the track temperature has continued to go pretty stable, actually. It's still at about 26 degrees Celsius, so that tarmac is holding on to some of that heat that the sun has put down. And I'd be surprised if we can even see anything other than the headlights of the cars by the time this second race goes off. And hopefully that is the only losing of the rear end there for Matty Jones. You can't afford for that to happen in race 2.
That's very true indeed. As we can't. Yeah, anything goes wrong in this race, particularly with pit stops. While they may give people who have mistakes a chance back into it, certainly could be a mixed bag. We have one of our drivers here unfortunately missed the first race, but Robbie Bradbury is here tonight for Century Motorsports and now out on track getting ready for this second of the 2 races here. So we will have all 21 of our 992 Cup cars racing for this one, I do believe. We'll have to wait and see, though, with a couple more minutes until we transition to the grid for this race. But talk about transitions actually about just a minute's time from now. So I will be curious to see. So just to make sure, in case you're not familiar, there is a compulsory pit stop for this second race, and that compulsory requirement is to take at least 2 tyres. And while given these cars take tyres and fuel separate, everyone, I would presume, will be fueled on board to do that entire race and only need to change the tyres here, Reese. So the pit window, as for all V8SCOPS events, whether they be support or the main event, if you require a pit stop, as per the compulsory rules, will open at the end of lap number 2 and will close 2 laps before the end. That is going to be the end of lap 17. Start of lap 18 will be the last time we get to come down the lane. So indeed, we'll be very curious to see how drivers opt to play that strategy here tonight.
Yeah, we'll definitely be curious too. And just to double clarify as we go into the session, end of lap 2 basically means when you approach the pit lane at the end of lap 2. All right, let's go through the grid then for race 2 here. Refresh ourselves on the state of play in the flat sixes. Robbie Bradbury is going to start on pole position with Mark Noble alongside him. And it's Anthony Green who starts alongside Shane Best. Safety car and race control will not be in the session. John Courtney and Pete Manette start start 7th or start on the 4th row of the grid. I'm just going to read it off as it is on the display. Isaac Edwards and Benjamin Faulkner in the top 10 there, with Craig Mason and Jaden Mollenhauer 11th and 12th. Then it's Oakes, Kingston, Jones, Mazomo, Cheney, Houlihan, and then we've got our top finishers from the first race: Neck, Baldwin, Hins, Dance, and Bowler rounding out our field. And the sun has completely gone now, Daniel. Have a look at how dark the track is. This is insane, and this is going to be very difficult for the drivers to negotiate on that first lap.
Yeah, the time has progressed in-game thanks to that start there. Now,
oh, here we go.
Revs are rising,
start.
But indeed it is. Time advanced. Several drivers have missed the grid as well. This is going to be huge for disrupting the order here as they get underway, and it means that Mark Noble's going to be the one to lead them down to turn 1, and then we've got guys starting strong or trying to get their races underway here. Oh, it's very... Oh, contact at turn 1. Shane Best around. Matty Jones involved. Several drivers having to take to the dirt to avoid. And we've lost Brady Baldwin to a connection issue as well, so a lot of people not getting this race underway the way we'd like, and it's completely fractured the field already, and indeed completely dark here in Interlagos as we head down through turn 4 for the first time in this race.
My goodness, looks like Matthew Bowler, race 1 winner, was involved in a little bit of a smash with Ryan Houlihan on the way into turn 1, but we ride on board with Thomas Hens. There's only 15 cars running. John Courtney, Benjamin Faulkner, Jaden Mollenhauer, Connor Kingston, and Blake Neck all missed the start. Goodness me, that I think that took the drivers by surprise as much as us. Oh goodness, there's something going very wrong there. It looks like potentially, yeah, Cameron Dance around, and it looks like Isaac Edwards involved too.
Oh boy, it's all going off here in the dark for the first lap as these guys come to turn 8. They're going to be careful. Isaac Edwards is still parked there. But a quick look at the Virtual Racing School replay, and oh, that's going to be a slam dunk penalty there for Cam Dance, I reckon. Looking to the inside of Edwards at turn 8, but clips the right rear corner. Look at them all have to file on through and just dodge. And so, after absolute scenes at the start of this race, we've now got ourselves a completely mixed up field. A couple of drivers looking to make their way through the grid. As we see here, Matty Jones is pressed up to P8 already, but other guys like Mazomo and Hins up to 5 and 6, and Hins is already through on Mazomo. Speaking of there, between the number 1 and the 551, so honestly, at this stage, Ryan Houlihan's ahead of them as well, but I'd say odds on, unless things go absolutely chaotic here in this race, looking at probably saying Hins and Mazomo are best on odds to have a chance at winning this race, as Ben Faulkner's finally joined the server, but he's come out into this lead pack and a lap down here, so he's going to have to watch out as these leaders file their way down into City Lago. Oh, Houlihan spins it under brakes, follows Anthony Green in too deep, and Green thankfully recovers, just getting tapped in the rear, but the 999 of Houlihan, he's going to tumble down the order as we quickly look at that one again on replay, Reese, and that's just a case of being sucked in too deep at turn 4.
Yeah, big shame there for Ryan Houlihan. Gets on the brakes and then the rear just goes. There was an ever so slight bit of contact, but man, it's amazing how they ended up going as we check out Anthony Green and Thomas Hins. This is probably what we heard Dan reacting to in the background.
Yep.
What went on here? Oh, Hins around the outside. Oh my goodness gracious me. Jesus, Mary, Joseph, Abraham, and Isaac. That was close.
Yeah, he's absolutely fired it across the circuit. All kinds of lost at the rear. Thankfully for the guys behind him, Hins and Mazomo in particular, but also Pete Nanette, Matty Jones, and Dino Cheney, they've all been able to tuck up the inside. So the pit lane should have opened this time by. No one takes it from the top 3. So it's Mason and Noble racing side by side for the race lead here. And looks like so far, Matty Jones though, he does opt to take the pit stop. He's going to try and play the early game here and get this pit stop service quickly. This could be huge if a safety car gets called, but the way these guys are falling on their own. Oh no, who's that spun at turn 1 in the background and shot?
Oh my lord, that is
Pete Manette out of P5. Loses the rear of the 678. Is parked on the apex of turn 2. That's a nasty spot to be. He'll want to get that one out of the way, but our top 4 continue on here. And look at here, Hins and Mazomo looking to try and press here the advantage on Noble and Mason, but they can't afford to now get stuck because Matty Jones pitting from P5 puts these front 4 on a timer. If they can't get themselves up to speed here, particularly Noble and Mason, they're the big question marks here because they obviously are a good measure slower than Hinz and Mazomo, but Hinz up the inside at turn 8 there. Reese is going to finish it around the outside of Pinarino turn 9, and Mazomo's looking for the inside at turn 10. He's going to force that door open and get through as well.
All right, well, Mark Noble just deciding not to get too involved with that as Hinz and Mazomo steam towards the front of the field. We're hearing that Ryan Houlihan is in danger of going over the incident limit. He's at 14 incidents at the moment, so it's going to have to be some careful driving from Ryan Houlihan. Anything but careful driving from Thomas Hinz and Simon Mazomo. I'd say still reasonably careful, but more precise and quick as they work their way to the front of this field. Just Craig Mason now to go as John Courtney jumps into the lane. Hinz is going to go to the inside for turn 1, but he's not going to quite get it done. Oh, Craig Mason gives him room. He's being very generous there with all that room on the left side, but Hinz decides it's better to think better of it as Cameron Dance decides to go for the lane. Still waiting on whether or not there's a decision on from race control on that incident between he and Isaac Edwards as Thomas Hinz now goes for the inside at Desida do Lago. Craig Mason once again nice and careful, giving them room. Hinzi now to the lead, and Simon Mazomo looking to line him up around the outside at Ferradura, which, as we've seen many times tonight, can be done. But has he gone too deep is the question. He cuts in towards the inside, and Mason lifts off. There we go. Mazomo through into second in style.
Yeah, that was an excellent bit of driving there, holding it just at the limit for the car. So this is now crucial for them. If these guys want to make it work here, they're going to have to push. So there's your leading driver to have pitted. Cameron Dance currently back in 11th place and 30 seconds off the race lead. And 2.5 clear of Matty Jones. And that's actually really important because that puts Matty Jones quite a ways back. And in fact, looking at the times, 13.6 stationary for Dance, but 16.2 stationary for Jones. So that'll play, I think, quite a bit there with regards to how things play out. As just a cool little thing on the radio there. Mez, I think, just trying to signal to Hinz that he's not looking to attack here. His focus is on playing the long game with Hinz as a bit of a co-opted buddy here as they make their way down the front stretch. They're bringing Craig Mason along with them quite nicely, actually. So I think this is a good chance for Mason, indeed. If he can just keep his car nice and steady here, might be able to hang on for a couple of laps. But even so, was a second slower on that last lap as he had these two guys passing by. And, well, Reese, it's, I guess, a question of how long can he hang on for us? More trouble for the 999 of Ryan Houlihan there, indeed.
Yeah, up to 18 incidents now, only 2 away from a drive-through penalty. And I definitely have first-hand experience of what it's like to exceed the incident limit. As goodness me, Cameron Dance is in the wars, isn't he? Look at that. That's Pete Manette and Anthony Green. Wow, that's a big spin there for Anthony Green. Fired it across the racetrack, but managed to keep out of the way of everyone around him. Goodness me, this race has been chaotic, and we're only a quarter of the way through. What's the rest of this race going to bring?
Well, it looks like apparently, sun sets in Brazil, and all hell breaks loose. Or at the very least, maybe just a trend tonight of just increasing shenanigans and chaos tonight, because it feels like we've sort of just haven't let up from what we saw in the Jetta Cup to end that one earlier. And it seems to have transferred across here in the flat sixes because, everyone's going hammer and tongs, but really this is just benefiting our front two hugely. They've gained 2 seconds on Cameron Dance on this lap thanks to the stuff that Cam's had to deal with in terms of just dodging chaos. So this is perfect for our front two. They should, at this rate, come out and have about 5 or 6 seconds to themselves at this stage, I dare suggest. And impressive to see there. Craig Mason, clean lap from him, is staying in behind these two. He has dropped a little bit as we're on board with Mazomo, but he's still within half a second or just thereabouts from the second place car.
We'll have a look at how much curb they take on the run out of Curva do Sol. Just trying to extend it as much as possible. Trying to go long here in this race. Maybe get themselves a pit stop midway through. Give it a nice even split with the tyres. We'll have to wait and see. Looks like Pete Manette has brought it into the lane meanwhile, and Mazomo continuing to just stay behind Hinzi. He's not going to pressure him too much, doesn't have to worry for the time being. Manette putting the tyres, the fresh rubber on his machine. And have a look at the gap. They're already starting to pull at the front here over Craig Mason. It's out to about 1.5, 1.6 seconds that Mason has over Hinds now, and that was pretty much just in a single corner that a lot of that time was lost. Seems that Mason is, well, he's trying his best to keep up with these guys, but you can see the pace difference visually, can't you?
Yeah, last up was good for him, only 2/10 off the race leader, but this time by seems to really have struggled in comparison, and yeah, just a bit of ebb and flow between these guys. But here on the front stretch, looking at about 9/10, he's actually losing time to Mazomo in a straight line, so that tells me that he's running a higher downforce setup, and we're also confirming that Race Control has made a ruling on the lap on incident we caught on replay, and the man on screen, Cam Dance, will indeed have to tour the pit lane to clear that penalty here, which will see him tumble back to P11 behind. Well, he'll actually only lose 2 spots here, I think, because Isaac Edwards is a long way back in P12. But, well, with 2 guys behind you who have also pitted, that's not going to do you any favours here.
No, it's not. And Cameron has 3 laps to serve that penalty, so he doesn't have to come in right now. As you can see, he did not. And Matty Jones continuing to try and work his way up here. It's quite the drive that Matty has been putting on here. Now up into the top 10, and don't forget, he has already done his pit stop. So when Cam comes in to serve his penalty, Jones will be the leader of the cars that have pitted, and he's the one that Thomas Hinds and Simon Mazomo are going to have to watch out for potentially.
Yeah, they are going to have to watch out for him, because his last lap was actually splitting the top 2 down the middle. Hinds is the fastest car on track last time by, 1:34.1, but then it was Matty Jones on the 34.3, the second fastest out there, followed by Mazomo on a 34.7. So this phase of the race here, with the early stop done, he's stabilised the loss there, but it looks like, again, 33 seconds behind the race leader, almost 34 now, as Isaac Edwards has found more trouble in the race on Oscar. Now, he's on track somewhere. That's actually just near pit exit at Curva de Sol. So he's gone around a long way behind there on circuit, and the race leader's going to catch him pretty soon if he's not careful. Look at the virtual racing score to see what's happening. He's already off the grass, and this is in slow motion. You can see that lights up pit exit for us. So we're right on board to have another look at what's happened here to the number 15 race down into turn 1.
Yeah, so made his way in right, but then big understeer there. He tried to hook it up for the exit, but wow, even more understeer there for Isaac, and just lost it over the grass, and around he went. That's a shame there for Isaac. Already a tough race he was having, and it's just become even tougher.
Yes, indeed. Back to live pitch as we go, and I believe that's still on board here with the Edwards and DBR. It's number 15 up in your top right of screen. Driver down the pit lane there is Cameron Dance. Penalty serve. He does indeed slot back out into P11. He is now, though, about 2.9 seconds behind Matthew Bowler, the next car on track, and then it's about 9 seconds up the road to Matty Jones. So again, drive-through penalties here at Interlagos, not particularly cruel, given the 80km/h speed limit, thanks to the fact that we are a Grand Prix venue. And if you can get the exit right through that lengthy pit exit there, you will be able to sort things out. As there goes the race leader into the pit lane, Thomas Hinds opting to split this race almost in 2, locking up the rears to get it in, but he slowed it down enough and opts to absolutely shred the rear of his car. So I wouldn't be surprised if he takes anything but 2 rears here, given that you could maybe go for one side of the car, but honestly, around this track, it really does feel like you're loading both sides of the car almost equally depending on the corners, but the higher speed stuff is left-hand turns, so we'll see how that goes. So 16.2 seconds stationary for Hinds as he now heads down the lane. He should come out pretty clear of Matty Jones, and indeed Hinds is already around past turn 1 and heading for turn 2.
16.3 seconds stop for Thomas Hinds. Cone-to-cone time was 31.5, and that is quite a bit slower than what we saw from Matthew Bowler. 28.6 seconds entry to exit for Matty. And we check out Mr. Jones here, who's trying his best to chase down Mr. Best in 8th place. Hinsey has come out ahead of them. considering the usual pace difference that we see between drivers like Jones and drivers like Shane Best, I think that position should be sorted pretty soon. But really, it's Thomas Hinz who both of those drivers are going to be racing against, or at least Matty Jones, because Shane Best has yet to come into the lane.
Yeah, that is a good point there. But a 5-second gap, obviously, between Hinz and Jones. We'll see things there. So does Mazomo respond this lap? No, he does not. He opts to continue racing on here in the 5:51. So he's going to take us over the halfway mark here before he brings it down to the pits. So opting to try and push on a little bit here. 134.9 last time around. We saw 134.5 out of Matthew Bowler. As a car spun there, Shane Best. Speaking of the 122, having needed to pit, he's still parked though. He needs to try and get that car going, I dare say. He's parked right on the racing line. Is he stalling that car out, possibly, as he tries to get that? No, okay, so now he's got reverse. Can he get that car? I reckon he's stalling it out, yeah. So that's he's now off the racing line at least, but, well, that's a lot of time lost for the 122. And a couple of drivers having probably a bit of a spooky moment there. They come round Magulo to find a car parked sideways on the racing line. So we look at the VRS replay here. And yeah, just unloads the rear. And then, hello. Dodge goes Matty Jones right around the nose. And then Matthew Bowler, that'll be Matthew Bowler in the shadows back there. In behind, I believe it might have been Pete Manette in one of the Race on Oz cars. As we go on board to have another look at it from Matty Jones' perspective here as he comes around Magulo and into spun car. And keeps his foot in it there, so deciding not to really slow down and risk it all rather than slow down and conserve things there, but has got away with it that time there, it would seem.
Only just. Well, Best finally was in the lane, and it looks like he is still in his box at the moment, looking to get that pit stop done. He's been in there for quite some time. Mazomo continuing to stay out here. He's looking to go extra long, try and take advantage of some of this clear air that he's got, but a 34.8 on the previous lap versus a 34.4 for Matthew Bowler. Certainly looking like the drivers behind are the ones with the pace as Daniel Cheney makes his way into the pit lane from fourth. And will fall down the order. Robbie Bradbury and Thomas Hinz get by him. It is the top four out there that have not pitted at the moment. So Mazomo, Mason, Oakes, and Bradbury.
Yeah, I think Mazomo having trailed Hinz in that opening phase. Well, looking at the last couple of lap times, Hinz is now pulling almost half a second per lap. So Mez unlikely to be able to get back to a P1 that he held on for a little bit at the start of this race, so realistically looking to slot himself into that gap of net P2, which is currently 6th on track, which is held by Matty Jones, but well, with the gap between Hinz and Jones currently out there, and where Mez was relative to Hinz, I would suspect he should slot into P2 net fairly easily. But yeah, with Jones and Bowler putting in solid laps as well, he will need to be careful and be pretty consistent once he does bring it back out of the lane. Comes to finish lap 11. He's still going here. So no sign of pitting just yet from that number 551 as Hinz has made it past Robbie Bradbury there. So this places one of our cars that still needs to pit in this race.
It looked like Bradbury might have been having a couple of issues there. As we check a little further back, this is quite the fight, it seems. Daniel Cheney there trying to make his way past a lapped car and continue chasing his Texans Fitstye teammate Cameron Dance. That's Benjamin Faulkner who's just behind them, and Faulkner unfortunately a lap down on almost everyone else bar Shane Best and Isaac Edwards. And it looks to me like Cheney and Dance, they're doing all right out there. Cheney just completing his first lap out of the lane and in the top 10. That should earn him at least one positions promotion when Mazomo, Mason, and Bradbury complete their pit stops. But we're still waiting for them to do that.
Yeah, that will shake things up a little bit here in the mid-pack group at least. But, well, things are sort of settling down when it comes to front order. And while, yeah, Thomas Hinz looks to be making good moves in-road on the race leader. But you can see there last time around they were pretty even there at a 34.7 apiece. So pace ebbing and flowing from these two guys here who were racing over the lead. But I've just seen this last lap from Mez is looking a little bit squirmy. So end of lap 12 out of 19. He's still going, though. Doesn't bring it down the pits again. So just very interesting decisions here. Opting to just really stretch the front of the tyres. He's locked it up into turn 1. He has Mez. So that's going to be a little bit of time burned there. As one of the cars onto the pits this time by Craig Mason comes in out of P2. Also Anthony Green. No, pardon me. Anthony Green has been down on the lane for some time. There was someone else in the lane, but Taylor Oakes is also going to come in and bring Thomas Hinz up into second place.
All right, so from here, looks like Hinzi is definitely going to take the win here as things stand. Mazomo now the only car other than Robbie Bradbury who has not come into the lane yet, and it's currently a 26.5 second gap or so between Hinz and Mazomo. So that's definitely within the window for a pit stop. Mazomo, I think, will be mostly thinking about Matty Jones at this stage. Jones running in 4th place, about 35 seconds, or 33 seconds on that timing, behind the leader. And I think Mazomo, he might just come out ahead of Jones at that stage, but I can't be sure.
I'm going to say I'm relatively confident he slots into roughly where Bradbury is currently on the box. Even though Bradbury... Robbie Bradbury has brought it down onto the pit lane. No, sorry. No, I take that back. Started from pit lane, and that's what's got my timing software
Here we go.
Confused. So, race leader comes in now whilst I'm blabbing about, but I expect Mazomo here should be pretty comfortably in P2 once this is all said and done. Hinz obviously will check out up the road, but I don't expect Matty Jones to be all that close given the gap Hinz has been able to maintain and sustain. Mazomo's just waiting now on the release from the box. 13 seconds for him as well. That's actually very good. Almost 2.5 seconds faster than Thomas Hinz stationary, but Hinz is coming around the outside of turn 1. Oh, we might have ourselves a bit of a drag race here in pit exit here, Reese. This is a little closer than I thought it would be. Thanks to that faster stationary time, Hinz is going to have the momentum around the outside of the Curva de Sol, but on the inside of the Retta Raposta, Mazomo could defend this on the inside. He moves over to open up to Interlagos, and he's still there on the brakes. So here we go, side by side for the net race lead. Hinz tries to defend it. Contact side by side. He goes off track, but he does take the place here. So another side by side on him. He's going to be careful. Cold tyres on some direction of that car. Oh, there we go. Cold tyres have burned him. And that was a fight he probably couldn't quite take just yet, but you can see there quite comfortably out in second place. And well, 5.5 laps to go. Unfortunately, that opening tussle has certainly gone the way of Hinz.
That was a big snap for Mazomo, and when you're on the outside coming into a corner like Ferradura, cold tyres are the last thing you want on your car. But good on Mazomo for at least giving it a go, trying to make it as difficult for Hinz as possible to get the move completed. Hinzi, though, now only has himself to work with, and should be a nice consistent drive to the flag if he keeps this up. Looks like we have a few drivers in danger of exceeding the incident limit. Anthony Green has 17 incidents, Bowler has 14. Reminder that the incident limit is 20 before you receive a drive-through, so Green's going to have to be careful. Pete Manette has already fallen victim to the incident limit. He served a drive-through some time ago and currently out in 11th place. Still, a pretty good result for him, all things considered, as we ride on board with Matty Jones. He's looking to try and pass Robbie Bradbury here, who is now the last remaining car who hasn't pitted. It's a good run for Matty Jones down the Reto Aposta, and he tries to force one up the inside, but oh, there we go, out-braking himself a bit there was Robbie Bradbury, and through goes Jones.
Yep, that's a good one there indeed. Set up nicely there, and that's the lights of Matthew Bowler in the background of shots. So our race 1 winner, maybe a little bit of damage sustained from the earlier incidents that he had to try and drive through, but he's been closing in, I think, fairly steadily here on Jones, currently to the tune of about 2 to 3 tenths a lap, it seems, but 4.5 laps to go. If he can keep up closing in a couple of tenths here, a couple of tenths there, he might just have a chance here in the final couple of laps to have a proper crack at it as they come out of Pico de Bardo and down through Magulo here. So this time it's Bowler's turn to try and get past Bradbury. I have to hope here Bradbury knows he needs to come in and take a compulsory pit stop, because it does feel like he's driving this car for quite some time without pitting. But you would think, given the spotter calls in iRacing from the leaders pitting, might have been a bit of a signal there to him. So your top four all have pitted. And Bradbury, again, as I say, continues on, which is making me a little worried he is not aware of the compulsory pit stop requirements, unless he's going to wait for the last possible option before he brings it down the lane. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I would hope that that's the case. He's still got until the end of the next lap to try and get it into the lane. And of course, race control does speak on voice chat before the start of the race and remind the drivers that there is a compulsory pit stop. I think that if Robbie Bradbury didn't hear that and wasn't aware, then he'd only have himself to blame. But we'll reserve our judgment until we see him come into the lane, potentially there at the end of lap 17. But he has gone on those tyres for quite some time, still holding on to a position in the top 5 in this race. So fastest car on track last lap was Thomas Hinz. Once again, he's pulled out a 2-second gap over Simon Mazzomo. It's looking like a pretty comfortable lead for Thomas Hinz at the moment. And considering where he was in qualifying, struggling to even get a time in, that's a brilliant turnaround there for Hinz.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I think that says a lot about maybe Hinz just a little bit on edge in qualifying, trying to get a one-lap pace in. But clearly, years of experience across a variety of cars showing itself here now in the races, when he can focus on the stints and the rhythm and get that car where it needs to be, keep the nose clean, and get a good race result in as we stay on board with Matthew Bowler here. And yeah, 8/10's the gap between him and another podium position. And oh, that's wide from Matty Jones again at turn 1. We saw that several times in the opening race, and now he's going to be under all sorts of pressure down the Retta Raposta here for third place, I would think. And look at that Bowler already out to the edge of the track, and he's hustling very fast in a straight line. That low downforce setup that he's running tonight, already clear of Jones, pardon me, before the turn in for Interlagos, and that is P3 secure for the number 12. Been a bit of a bumpy ride up the field, but he might be under pressure from Jones here in the infield section, but I think he'll be able to hang on to it here. Doesn't have to push his car too hard to hang on, I dare suggest, and consolidate P3 with 2.5 laps remaining.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, that Matty Jones, he's just had so much trouble with turn 1, hasn't he? And Bowler, we saw him closing up in the slipstream down the front stretch. Certainly a good move to be done there, taking advantage of your rival's mistake. So not a bad debut for Matthew Bowler here if things finish as they are. Certainly it seems that win in race 1 and a podium in race 2 is just about the best result you can come away with for a series debut. Bradbury, meanwhile, 23rd at the moment. 6th, unfortunately. A couple of technical problems here with our timers, but it's lap 18 for our leaders. Bradbury has to come in now, and he does. So he was just waiting until the last possible moment to bring it into the pit lane. Good stuff there. The field has been cleansed finally, and it looks like the running order, your top 5 being Hinz, Mazzomo, Bowler, Jones, and Cameron Dance. And Dance has 5 seconds forward to this battle here between Bowler and Jones for the last spot on the podium. If these two end up coming together, then Dance will be right there to potentially take advantage and have a look at how much they extend the track of the exit of Interlagos. It's going to be another incident each for them. But Bowler is in trouble here for incidents. He is now at 16 incidents. 17 incidents, in fact, with that off track out of Interlagos. So, any contact, if he gets 4 incidents for contact with another car, he'll have a drive-through. He's got to be careful now.
Yeah, that was quite an interesting decision to make that. I guess, in saying that, if he got 4x with the incidents he had already, he'd be on 20 and given a drive-through. I guess if you're on 16 or 17, what does it matter if the 4x is what you're worried about per se? But, well, inching yourself towards that incident limit when you're on the edge and you've got someone behind you who could potentially go for a move in a slightly ambitious spot, given the way these cars are set up differently, it would seem, given that Matty Jones has been struggling in a straight line, even with the toe compared to others around him, and Bowler clearly opting for a low downforce configuration. But they've got one more tour of the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache to complete, and, well, looks like at this stage they should finish the way they are at the moment, but you never know as the leaders continue down the Reta Reposta. The race leader is Thomas Hinz. He's got 2.5 seconds to the good here over Mazomo, so this should be a fairly straightforward run to the line for him. Currently lapping in the high 134s, down a little bit on pace here, but what does it matter when you've got 2.5 seconds to hang on to your position here with half a lap to go?
Indeed, that is the gap as we check a little further back there. It's so difficult to find the car numbers. Yeah, that's Matthew Bowler there in third place. Gap back to second place Mazomo, about 8 seconds, and it looks like Bowler is pulling away from Matty Jones. So we'll see if they end up finishing the way they are. It looks like they will at this stage. So only one proper corner to go here for Thomas Hinz as Simon Mazomo tries to find his way past Benjamin Faulkner. Meanwhile, Thomas Hinz out of Junsao, through Subida dos Boxes, and forward, onwards, upwards to race victory here in race 2 of the flat sixes here, part of the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series. Hinz crosses the line, and that victory is going to be especially sweet. Mazomo should be proud of himself there for that second place. It was a fantastic drive up through the field. Bowler gets third. They'll likely come home with the round win at that rate, and Matty Jones coming home there with the fourth place finish. Cameron Dance is going to round out the top 5. Still close between Oakes and Mason here for 7th and 8th, but it does look like Oakes has done just enough to hold Mason off.
Credit to Craig Mason, one of the drivers who started up near the front tonight. A rough result for him in race 1, if I'm not mistaken. Pardon me, started 11th for this race. So was in the mid-pack, quite solidly mid-pack in the first of the 2 races tonight, but got to the front of the field by staying out and then did a very nice job there to hang on and finish inside the top 10 as our race winners begin their burnouts here. And unfortunately, they're not joined by the third member of the podium. Unfortunately, Mr. Bowler has decided burnouts elsewhere would suit him, it would seem, as we wait for a couple more drivers to come across the line. But I believe we can now turn to our race results. So officially there, the gap 2.6 seconds across the line between Hinz and Mazomo for your top 2. Matty Bowler just outside 10 seconds to bring it home in third place, and clears out a second ahead of Matty Jones there for 4th, with Cameron Dance indeed hanging on to a top 5 finish despite that penalty for the lap 1 incident with Isaac Edwards. Daniel Cheney makes it Fitzdy 5 and 6, and I believe Taylor Oakes actually makes it Fitzdy 5, 6, 7 there for those 3 drivers. Ahead of Craig Mason there in 8th place. Mark Noble, a good recovery there to position number 9 for him tonight in the second of the races, and Robbie Bradbury rounding out our top 10 for this second race here, Reese.
Pete Minette was the last car to finish on the lead lap in 11th place. Isaac Edwards, Shane Best and Benjamin Faulkner all finishing a lap down. Anthony Green, one of many drivers here to suffer in race 2, along with Houlihan and John Courtney. And unfortunate to see that Mollenhauer, Kingston, Neck and Baldwin were not able to make it past lap 1. In fact, all of them except Baldwin did not even take to the start. Nonetheless, it was a pretty fantastic race, and next week we're going to go from Brazil to Florida because we're going to Sebring for the next round of the V8SCOPS Support Series, featuring the V8s and the Jetta Cup once again. Goodness, Jetta's getting a good run in the middle of the season. I'd like to get my TCR back personally, but hey, it's going to be a fantastic round, that, Daniel. We always love going to Sebring. It's a great track for racing. Really brings out the best in a lot of drivers.
Yeah, bumpy airfield concrete circuit here in Florida, and, well, a timeless classic of the American endurance calendar. And certainly with its track characteristics, it's become very much home on the V8SCOPS schedule as well. We'll have to get back to that next week, though, and, well, certainly a bit of a change after a long break since our last round. But before we... Oh, pardon me. Before we get there, we'll have a chat to our second race winner for this evening here in the Flat Sixes. It's Thomas Hinz. Well, Hinzy had to climb your way from the back of the field with the reverse grid, but kept your nose clean where a few others weren't able to, and then able to secure a comfortable lead there in the end ahead of Mazomo in second. Well done.
Thanks, man. Went better than expected. I hadn't really touched the car since the last Flat 6 races, so it kind of jumped in even more ad hoc than normal, so I'm kind of like, well, we'll just survive, see how we go, and yeah, pace was surprisingly good, so car up on rails, to be honest, felt really good. And yeah, good result in the first race, good battle with Cam again, and everyone in the field was very good. And then yeah, got a bit lucky in the reverse grid, managed to, Cam got in trouble, Matt got in trouble, and then got lucky there with Ant there when he spun, and managed to dodge getting T-bone there. So a bit of luck as well, as you mentioned there, just dodging a lot of stuff. But it worked out, kept the car clean, and an awesome battle there with Mez. Good to battle a very good old friend, Mez. Awesome guy. So great to get to battle him, and good to get a surprise W.
Yeah, I mean, certainly while the one lap pace wasn't quite there in qualifying, I mean, in saying that, you started the race in P7, and you're only about you're about 3/10 off of our pole position earlier tonight, but certainly looks like you had that race pace and consistency where it counted. And with 2 podium finishes, it actually puts you tied on points with Mr. Matthew Bowler there. So joint round win, it looks like, between the two of you there. And certainly another good round overall when it comes to the championship as well, I guess.
Yeah, obviously, tried to get Cannon in the first race to get a couple of points on him, but just couldn't quite get the move on. Kept making silly little errors with lockups that kept sort of wrecking any chance of getting runs, which is a little disappointing, but it was good to still get solid points. And then was helped obviously in that first one. He gotten some issues there at the start with coming through, and that kind of handed me a good chunk. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just kind of trying to enjoy the series. I feel like Cam's usually got a bit of an edge on me in most cars, honestly. So we'll see how it goes. But we'll see how we go. Just keep pushing as always, and take the results I can. And if we're there at the end, then that's good. If not, well, happy to just have a good time and maybe sneak a W or two here and there. So just keep going.
Yeah, well, we won't see the Flat Sixes back until mid-July for the V8SCOPS round when it heads to Sonoma Raceway. Any sort of thoughts about how that'll play out at this stage, or given that we are still over a month away, it's sort of early days to be thinking about that one at this stage?
Sonoma, I haven't really, I'm just trying to remember the last time I drove either this or the old Porsche Cup car around there was a very long time ago, maybe back in like the EMR Porsche Cup days, I would say, something like that. It was a long time ago. It would have been the last time I raced Porsches, if at all, around Sonoma. So that one I may actually have to get a few laps in, because I won't have any sort of past experience to go off there, or if I do, it's from a long time ago. So should be interesting. I mean, being Sonoma, it's always pretty hot there, being the location it's at, so it's always usually pretty high track temps and all that kind of thing, so that'll probably make it be interesting. It should be good fun though. It's always a good fun track, but underutilized, I feel like. So it should be a lot of fun, and looking forward to it.
Well, before we let you go, Thomas, chance to thank partners and sponsors who helped you get it done tonight.
Thanks to HJR boys, if I say the name right, as always, and the lovely paint scheme Henry did there, the purple edition, I think looks fantastic. So awesome stuff there. As always, he does a great job with everything there, and for running the support series as he does such a great job with it. Huge thanks to really putting on the series into the field, really. It got a bit hectic there in the reverse grid, but for the whole flip reverse, it's going to happen, obviously. So, but otherwise, generally from what I was battling, it was all awesome fun, and really good group of guys that do the support stuff, which makes for some awesome racing. So big kudos to them, and big kudos to you guys for putting on an awesome show, I'm sure, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much there. Thomas Hinz, your race 2 winner here in the Logitech G SCOPS Support Series for the Flat Sixes.
Thank you.
Indeed. Fantastic job there from Hinzy in the second race. I think we should take a chat to Matthew Bowler as well, because he ended up taking first and third here tonight. Got to say, equal on points with Thomas Hins out of the round. And Matt, for one of your first times out in this series, definitely not bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, second race didn't quite go to plan, but you're definitely pretty happy to get back onto the podium.
Yeah, you were in a bit of trouble for incidents towards the end, we hear.
Yeah, so obviously before the first corner there was a bit of like an interlock with one of the cars, and I locked all the tyres, so my tyres were pretty screwed. Stalled the car a few times, which didn't help, but then got on the charge, pitted early, just did some good laps really. Unfortunate for Cam, who got a penalty as well, but yeah, I was pushing the limits pretty hard to the point where I think I had 1 or 2 incident points to spare.
Well, are you going to be making more appearances in the Flat Six over the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think I might have to. I didn't actually know I was eligible to race because of me doing SCOPS and stuff here and there. But yeah, because I didn't do it last year, it means I am. So I think I'll be around to do some more races. It's pretty good fun.
All right, well, we certainly wish you the best of luck with all of that, Matthew. Before we let you go, anyone that you'd like to thank?
I mean, I'm a privateer, but I'll just thank Bowler Media, which is my photography brand. If you guys want photos or anything, make sure to let me know. And also Auto Nexus, which is a logistics company. Also want to thank you guys for putting on the series and doing all the broadcasts and everything. It's yeah, super fun.
Thanks very much for joining us, Matthew Bowler. And finally, Dan is going to have a chat to Simon Mazzomo, who had a pretty good night, 8th in race 1, 2nd in race 2.
Yes, indeed. Well, qualifying looked good there, Mr. Mazzomo, and unfortunately didn't quite come together in race 1, but you've rebounded very nicely there to get yourself the podium for race 2 there.
Yeah, happy with that. There was a bit of luck involved as well, but yeah, I'm still pretty gutted with myself in the first race. Can't help but think if I'd gotten that one right, it would have been a better result tonight. But yeah, second race just sort of managed to miss all the carnage and popped out with Thomas Hins, and yeah, just sort of worked together and managed to get away, and yeah, sort of story read itself from there.
It did indeed. I guess the darkness that we ended up with there tonight, did that sort of change the way you had to sort of go through the race, given that you're relying entirely on headlights around this venue apart from that front stretch, or were you able to sort of drive it in a similar fashion between races 1 and 2 this evening?
It kind of worked out well having Hinsey in front because his lights were sort of making everything a bit brighter for me. So I sort of learnt where everything was, and then when he pitted, it was kind of like, right, well, I know roughly where these are, and these were my braking spots, so I just sort of used those. So it was a little bit, obviously, only having my headlights, it was a bit darker, but I'd sort of mapped out where everything was. And so, yeah, those sort of laps I was out on my own, it was fine. I knew where to go. But yeah, overall, that was probably the only real challenging bit. The track sort of really dropped off. It was really slippery for the first few laps. The track just had no grip on it at all. But it sort of came as the race went on and sort of threw me a little bit, especially if we did tyres. We did lefts only, and that probably is what... I waited too long to do that pit stop because by the time the tyres actually switched on again, because the track was just so cold, by the time the tyres actually switched on, Hinsey was already a couple of seconds down the road. So yeah, definitely learnt a bit from that. So yeah, bring it on to the next one. If we ever have another night race, at least I have a better idea what to do.
Well, we'll hopefully see that on the calendar at some point in the future. But Sonoma are up next for the Flat Sixes in the middle of July. And, well, you clearly picked up the pace here this round at Interlagos. I guess got some time to prepare. Any sort of thoughts about that venue in the Flat Sixes?
It's probably not a track I'm all too good at, so I might need to spend a bit more time with it. But we'll see. Like, I've been sort of knuckling down and trying to do a lot more hours, and obviously tonight it's showing. But this track I've sort of always gelled with, so it's probably a bit of an outlier. My pace here is probably better than what it typically is. So yeah, hard to say. I don't think I'll be as quick as these guys this weekend. I think Sonoma might be a bit of a sort of not as quick track for me. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, get my head down, do a bit more testing, see where we end up.
Well then, before we let you go, Maz, anyone you'd like to thank for tonight?
And to really thank is Mad Designs, Dan Stevens, for the sick paint job he's put on this thing. Like, everyone's commenting about how bright and glary it looks, and yeah, it's an amazing job. So big shout out to Dan for putting that together for me.
Well, there we go. Third member of the podium in race 2 tonight, Simon Mazzomo, second place after that one there. Well, that's going to wrap it up here tonight, Reece. And, well, it feels like certainly got a good start with the flat sixes, and then the Jetta Cup turned it up to 11, and then we pretty much kept it there with the flat sixes with their final one tonight. And, well, yeah, certainly sets up a good sort of stage for the main game on Sunday when we return with Super Split 2 and the Interlagos 250 for the SCOPS Series for round number 5.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. We hope that you join us here on SimSpeed TV. We'll be going live from 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. And of course, as Dan said, we will have Super Split 2 action followed by the main game. Some of the best sim racers in Australia all competing for the biggest title. This is going to be fantastic. We hope that you can join us for it. I'm Reece Gardner with Dan Yeaman alongside me in the commentary box and Jay Kennedy on production. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, we say thank you to Logitech G for their support of this series, and bye for now.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got rhythm. Both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's gonna get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?